I make all my songs live on Twitch. You can check that out in the link down below.
Hi, welcome, welcome. Sorry I'm so late. I did actually go out and partake of the eclipse and touch some grass and such things for a little bit. So I was a little bit later to get started, but I'm glad you're here and I'm glad we could hang out still. How are your eyes? Absolutely fine. In no small part because I didn't actually manage to get hold of some sunproof glasses before the eclipse happened, because basic bitch sunglasses will not allow you to stare directly at the sun. Thank you, Azriel. Also, I can't hear a thing, so mods, I will be relying on you for things like music level and that sort of stuff, because I have misplaced my headset. I don't know where it is anymore. But maybe I'll spot it while we keep talking. But like I built a little box, a little cereal box to try and view it through, because you can use them to make like a little bit of a projector, and you can look inside the box and look at the sort of pinhole reflection of it rather than the action directly at the sun. So I went out there with one and it was going okay. Oh my god, Ant-Man, thank you so much. And Cody, thanks for the bits too, sweetheart. And in the end, basically what happened was I was trying to view it through a cereal box, and this guy came up to me and was like, "Would you like a pair of glasses?" I was like, "Oh," and he was like, "Yeah, my girlfriend wanted to give them to you." I was like, "Thank you, that's so sweet." So I actually got to genuinely enjoy it. And then after it reached its peak and started, like, it had just reached the peak, and I was like, "Okay, I'm good. I have to get back because I have a stream and all these things, right?" So I passed a little old lady who was just stood out there kind of looking around, and you could see that she was there to observe the eclipse, but she didn't have the glasses, so I just gave her the pair. And she's like, "Thank you. Where did you get these?" And I was like, "I was given them by them people over there." They had a spare, so that's it. I couldn't give her any helpful information at all, but she got to enjoy it too. RV, thank you so much, sweetheart. I hope you had an amazing stream. Welcome in, everybody. Those glasses were well used. Yeah, I mean, they allowed me and a couple of elderly ladies to enjoy it. So, well, I should say then 3 elderly ladies got to enjoy the eclipse because of one girlfriend's, what's it called? Generosity. You'd think I'd know that word by now. I was out when the eclipse happened, but had no clue that what was happening. What? How? How did you not know? To be fair, though, I was looking at it, and even though the sun slightly dimmed, I was like, damn, if nobody told me it was an eclipse, I would have had no idea that an eclipse was occurring. I'd be like, why is everyone wearing 3D glasses out here? Or is everyone going to a 3D movie all of a sudden? Yeah, I thought it was the second coming. How did you not know? I wasn't aware there was an eclipse. See, I considered streaming it, but unfortunately, this is another thing that the crazy weird stalkers that I deal with have taken away from us, because I couldn't quite figure out how to do it safely. Unfortunately. And if I could have in time, then I would have brought you with me, and then you could have enjoyed it with me too. Apparently, the sun breaks your phone sensor, so it's not advised to try and watch the eclipse through your phone. Although I did see a lot of people trying to do that. I hope their phones were okay. And but with the glasses, you can put the glasses over the phone to take the photo or footage. So I could have done that and we could have seen it together. But yeah, the stalkers have actually stopped me doing quite a lot of content and a lot of things that I would have normally done. I guess I just need to have a word with a few other people who do our IRL streaming and everything and be like, can you give me some safety tips so I can go out there and do these things? Because right now I don't feel like I can without it having very long-term consequences. Get femboy maid bodyguards. See, I don't think that would. So, everyone thinks that the problem with the stalking is that I might get approached in person where I go. But that's not really the main issue. And so, a bodyguard alone would not really solve a lot of things for me. I think a lot of people just don't realize the risks that you're taking when you make content at all. So they just think, oh, if you just have a scary man standing behind you, it'll all be fine. And it's like, no, no, you could have a whole army behind you and it would still have consequences. I was not aware that there was an eclipse today. Damn! I feel so bad! If only I could have streamed it with you guys. You could have enjoyed it with me. It's insanely loud. I don't know what setting changed. I didn't change a single thing about my OBS. I don't think I changed anything about my microphone. I genuinely could not tell you why the whistle is very clear. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to forget and whistle at you again. So I apologize in advance. Oh my god, Rain, thank you so much for the 20 gifties. You're so insanely generous. I hope you had an amazing day. Did you manage to catch the eclipse, by the way, Rain? Okay, I'll do that now. It's not set to that one. But I don't see the one. Oh, wait, I do. How's that? Is it still really loud? Ah. Good. Sadly, it's not happening where I live. Oh, that's a shame. Even more reason why I wish I could have streamed it for you. I saw the total eclipse 2 years ago on my birthday in Texas. That's pretty cool. I feel like the last time I went and actively tried to watch an eclipse, I was a child. I think I was like 9 years old. I think. Unless I'm forgetting one between then and now. Oh, well, the monster just told me there's 35% off a hype train right now. So if you subbed, you probably got an unexpected discount. I don't think I've ever seen an eclipse. It's really cool. I think depending on where you are in the world, they can differ. So the eclipse that happened today didn't blot out the whole sun and make everything dark. But apparently when it fully blots out the sun, quite often all the animals freak out for a second and it gets suddenly very cold by comparison, like the temperature drops for a sec and all sorts of things go on. And like quite often people cheer, like you'll get loads of people cheering. It was about 90% in the UK. I think it went up to 98%. Like I think that was like the highest you could get it in the UK, but it was like varying depending on whereabouts you are. Meteor shower should have a large number coming across the sky. Yeah, the Perseid meteor shower. It's pretty cool. Miss K Rose, thank you so much for the 5 gifties. I appreciate it. Cody, Sonny, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the 5 gifties. I love you. Cheering? Most eclipses over here make people really quiet. What do you mean most eclipses, Cody? How many have you been to? You'd have to be pretty ancient to have seen quite a few. Did you know that the Earth is the only planet in the solar system where we can see an eclipse? I'd imagine that's because we can't really go traveling to Mars to watch an eclipse or Jupiter to see an eclipse. You know what I mean? Is that part of the reason why? Because I feel like that's a given. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, Peaks. I think it's based on the moon. Yeah, but other planets have moons too. So if I were to guess as to the reason why, if that's genuinely true, then my guess is because the sun is close enough to us that our moon can blot it out. But if you're really far away from the sun, it might have a different impact regarding your moon going between it and the sun, maybe. Like maybe the light is more refracted from far away, so it's harder to blot it out with a smaller object so close to you. Because there are lots of other moons. Yes, for example, Mars has two small moons, but they can't cover the sun's disk. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. The sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times as far away. Huh. So we're kind of special. That is pretty awesome. Do you have a favorite wish that to make with an eclipse? You get a wish with them? I know I was not told. I squandered it. I didn't hope for anything. Whoops. You're supposed to make wishes? Fucky, isn't yeah. I didn't know about that one. In 600 million years, the moon will have drifted so far from the Earth to not completely block it anymore. Do you reckon there'll still be life in 600 million years here? I mean, conditions may change significantly in that time. Gargoyle, thanks for the prime. Life, yes. Human life, questionable. I mean, will we be too close to the sun? Will things be significantly hotter or colder? Like, what will happen to the surface of the planet in 600 million years? How much time left before we're too close to the sun or the sun starts exploding? Or, something else happens to our planet which makes it just inhospitable? Nova, thank you. I appreciate it, bitch. I've been thinking if Elon Musk is allowed to just like bash the moon about, I do wonder what consequences that may have because like our moon uh controls the lunar tides, which is a huge aspect of like life on Earth. Like we were heavily reliant on our moon for sustainable life. It's a very important cornerstone. So I do wonder if we're gonna fuck with it too much. He's doing what to the moon now? He's crashing a bunch of shit into it, apparently. Well, not him personally, but you know what I mean. Dinosaurs will be back by then? Do you reckon? I don't think they would, in part because one of the reasons why we had giant organisms walking the Earth was literally because we had a far more oxygenated atmosphere back then, which could support megafauna, which can't happen now because we just don't have the high levels of oxygen. So there isn't enough oxygen in the air to sustain, those giant creatures you saw in Jurassic Park, like the plesiosaurs and stuff. Are the plesios are plesiosaurs the ones that live in the sea, or are they the long-necked ones that live that just nom trees and have like are really, really tall? I love you, I love you, I love you. The long-necked ones underwater. Okay, it's the ones that like lived out of the water. It's not very likely that they could actually reach maturity in our current atmosphere. So we won't get dinosaurs back unless something really weird happens to our atmosphere. That wasn't on purpose, though, and one part of the rocket crashing into the moon won't do anything since it's had tons of asteroids hitting it over the years. Yeah, I'm guessing because this must be why all the scientists were like, "Shh, let him cook," because they all want to see actively something impact the moon. Because they want to study like the clouds of dust that fly up during it and all this sort of stuff. They want to they're like, this is an opportunity to understand like how these craters were formed on the moon and how they're doing and what happens with it. Which suggests to me, how many asteroids have hit the moon, like in our lifetime? Because I see a lot of craters up there. I never see anything smack it. Is it like genuinely getting smacked all the time, or just did it at some point and we never saw it, but we know it happens? The CIA tried to nuke the moon during the Cold War. What? Why? That can't be true. What are you on about? Firstly, how would you send a nuke to the moon? Like, even launching it sounds fucking risky. But, like, what benefit would that have, genuinely? I think that's evidence, if you ask me, that the CIA should just be disbanded because they take a lot of ridiculous long-term actions that have global consequences for short-term goals. And it's kind of it looks ridiculously like they're more in charge of the country than the government when it comes to the USA. Like they look like the real government of the USA, and they're always doing terrible things like poisoning entire countries, causing birth defects, doing unregulated experiments on people and all sorts. I'd vote for Count Binface. I mean, I really do hope that he wins, to be honest with you. Binface all the way. The LSD mind control. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, they're a bit weird, aren't they? Wasn't it revealed that the CIA was responsible for JFK? I mean, I don't have the memory capacity, but I would not be surprised. Like, if that's true, my eyebrows would stay in place, quite honestly. Same with Martin Luther King, if I'm honest with you. I would have my vote would have been for Lord Buckethead. I feel like if Binface could get voted in by anyone in the world, like if it was the global vote, I think Binface would win. Absolutely. But I don't know what we're gonna see from Clapham. Isn't it Clapham where they're trying? Clacton. Okay, thank you. Well, hopefully Clacton does the right thing, honestly. I love you slut. Bitch. I'm so happy I met some friends from the Discord today, and I'm going again tomorrow and then visiting. Yeah, I know. I love that everybody's getting together, and I'm glad that you all get to see each other. It's really cute. It makes me so happy when people from my Discord start actually meeting in person. I'm sad that Binface can't wear his costume in Parliament if he wins. I mean, he's got to find a hilarious loophole, or it's just going to be a face reveal, which would be cool in and of itself. If I could run the UK though, I would make harsher punishments for companies. I would unprivatize the water companies. I'd imagine I would immediately just take them off of the people who have spilled loads of sewage in the sea and not built any new reservoirs in God knows how long. And I'd bring back throwing tomatoes at people in the stocks. Like, you'd have to spend a week in the stocks before you get sentenced by law. Like, that would be the beginning of your sentence. It's awful how long this sewage has been going on for. Yep. It's absolutely criminal. And the people who are responsible are rich and happy and have had no consequences whatsoever. And I think that's an immense injustice. I don't care where they are. I don't care what country they've gone to. Bring them back. Put them in prison, at the least. Prison is the mildest. For putting hours and hours of shit, they can't even measure how much shit they've spilled in our waterways, because it's such a huge volume. So it's not measured in liters or tons, it's measured in hours. Which I find horrendous. And it has that we can't find rivers that are contamination free. And our oceans are awful. I can't believe anyone swims in the ocean right now. I really can't. Loads of people are literally pooping blood after going and swimming in the sea because they get horrible diseases which make your ass bleed from the contamination. Ah! Mixed marathon swimming nightmare level. Yep. How does it feel to be British? I'm not joking. Okay, so I would say it's weird being a Brit now because it used to be defined by enjoying drinking tea and complaining about the weather because it's always raining, right? Those used to be quintessentially British things. And for some reason, holding an undisclosed grudge against the French. I don't know what that is. I don't know why, right? And these things seem to be like things that we could all agree on. Things that we could all be like, yep, 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 yep. Oh, Cephikibs, thank you so much for the pride. I appreciate it. But now we've had 5 heat waves in a row. We're about to go into a 6th. They're predicting highs of 38 degrees. We're a sunny ass country. We have become the new Spain. And Spain has become the new Australia. Which makes me wonder what the fuck. Australia has just become the new hell. Bitch! Where I'm at in the States, we've had our 4th week of 100 Fahrenheit plus. I don't know what 100 is though, Tier, but my condolences. It sucks. And a lot of people aren't even aware of the massive calamities that led us here. Like, there was a massive gas pipeline that was intentionally bombed in the Baltic Sea, which released, like, a metric shit ton of global greenhouse gases. So basically war. But also what Israel did to Palestine also released a metric fuck ton of greenhouse gases as well. An insane level. Both of those things did on a level that is just like almost impossible to quantify. It's so huge. Like years and years of emissions. So these 2 things happen incredibly close together along with a few other things. And we're not hitting our like climate agreements to kind of deal with emissions. We're just making it worse and worse. So with that said, I'm not surprised that things are getting immensely hotter and hotter. It's just frustrating to watch people deny climate change while this is going on year on year. every year is a new record high. So yeah, I know. But like a lot of people who don't understand climate science, right? Just think, well, the planet has always cooled down and warmed up. So couldn't this be natural? And that's kind of like looking at fire engulfing an entire city and going, well, nature has always had wildfires. So could the fire be natural? And it's like, in this case, no, it was arson. It was very deliberate, and we could have prevented it. And we probably should have, but you were saying that, fires happen in nature anyway. So now your house is burned down, and we could have saved it, and we could have just not let these people burn it down. And that's kind of the situation we're in. It's like, yes, these things can occur in nature, but they can also happen artificially too. And the fact that it's happening artificially is what's kind of causing the problem. I agree. We've gone through ice ages, etc., but humans aren't exactly helping the situation. Exactly. And I think it's really frustrating for people to just sit there in denial for a multitude of reasons. But one of them is, yeah, you're right. Like, what if we cleaned the oceans and moved to renewable energy and made, took the pollution out of the sky and, just made the world a better place and a cleaner place and a greener place for nothing? What if global warming turned out to just be a conspiracy to trick us into making a much more harmonious and safe world for ourselves? Because like there are only pluses to the things that would reduce emissions. There's no downside to doing any of them. So it seems weird. Just let people do it. Like, you don't have to believe the scientists. Just let them do it because the side effects are actually pretty good for a change. Solar punk future. I love that I taught so many of you about solar punk. Bitch, 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 bitch. I really am so fucking happy that you know about it now, because I feel like, yeah, a lot of people, if they knew what solar punk was, they'd be like, yes, that's the future I want. That's the exact vision I have for the future. And the more of us that agree, the more likely it's to happen, you know? Ah, ah. Isn't like 90% of the pollution from like 10% of the people, so it seems kind of pointless. I kind of feel like there's a lot of propaganda around that, and it's specifically to prevent people from doing anything about it. But that's not true. Like, there's huge industries that we are contributing to every day, and if we stopped contributing to it, like, it would make an immense amount of difference. There are things that can, in terms of carbon footprint, are huge compared to others. And yeah, I feel like people are deliberately being made to feel more helpless than they are, because if you don't do anything, then the industries continue to expand. So like, we all know, press one if you agree that the media, like television media, legacy media, has shareholders and owners that are politically motivated. So certain kinds of political parties own certain newspapers, own certain news agencies. You'll watch certain like Sky News or Fox News or GBN News, these sorts of things. You'll be like, yeah, there is somebody who pays. There's like an old white guy somewhere with billions who pays specifically to control what we get, what we hear. Exactly. Okay, so we agree. I don't see any twos. I don't see anyone who's like, no, they're completely honest and fact checked and they're completely independent and never corrupt at all. Like, we all agree that legacy media is pretty fucking corrupt. And it's why a lot of people fell away from it. It's why more people turn to YouTubers. Not that that's any less risky, but more people turn to YouTubers for their news than actual legacy media. Legacy media is lost because nobody trusts it anymore, because people are informed enough to know that it's corrupt. And the thing with that is that the same people who benefit from the oil industry, for example, tend to have their fingers in the pies of the media. So you'll hear 10 times about an arson attack, but you'll never hear anything about how global warming contributed to a wildfire at all. And so a lot of people who want to be climate change deniers are very comfortably watching all these deliberate arson attacks and going, see, it's not global warming, it's just some teenage kids just taking advantage of a dry spell. And so, you know, these things are very, very deliberate in the way that they're presented to us. And it also, like, this makes us feel helpless. Like, we are being made to feel helpless by the media. But every single day, there's a little bit of good news. There's loads of really cool things that happen every day because individuals take it upon themselves to bring back species, to change the law, to, like, bring back entire coral reefs, for example, and things like this. Species we thought were extinct have been brought back when we didn't even think it was possible because people restored their habitat and then found them again when we thought that they'd been lost like 100 years ago. There's loads of things that go on every single day that are historically global world changers. Like, the world will be different in 1,000 years' time because of that person who saved the species, right? That species could have been gone for all eternity. It's still here because of that one person, right? So when we think about how helpless we are, I think that the helplessness is propaganda, and it's designed to stop us protesting. It's designed to stop us doing anything to change the power structure. And I think it's especially implemented very deliberately and very tactfully on the internet and in legacy media to make us feel super fucking helpless, so we don't do jack shit about it. So we just sit back and let these people profit at our expense. The more helpless we are, the less we do about it. The more we become the world's bitch. Thank you, Mer. I appreciate the 10 gifties, sweetheart. And the thing is, like, there are whole news channels and stuff that are specifically dedicated to good news to try and reverse that trend. And you can follow them on loads of different social media. I follow like 10 of them on TikTok, right? But there are so many of them out there. And the more you read about it, the more you realize, fuck, there is so much I could be doing. There is so much more that all of us could be doing. And we're way more powerful as individuals than we think. And also, if we mobilize, we're even more powerful than that. And that's why things like gender wars, racism, these sorts of things, these are deliberately stoked fires. Like, our governments around the world are deliberately getting we caught Russia paying people in the UK to put Arabic graffiti on conservative political buildings to stoke racial hatred. Like, we are being divided on purpose. It is not a question. Yeah, that literally, you can go Google that. You can go Google that being exposed. I was just watching a thing about it. So there are multiple governments around the world that are deliberately stoking the fires of divisions that we do not do anything. So we go, but I'm just one person. What can I do? So you feel helpless as an individual, but also like you can't bring people together because you're afraid of them because they're the wrong color or the wrong gender or the wrong sexuality. Meh. And if you're really divided and you just stick to your tiny little group, you're going to stay helpless too. So yeah, that's intentional. That's been done to you. It's not actually reality. You're more powerful than you think. Facts is Tactics 101, divide and conquer. Yeah, I mean, in America, they're trying to ban boycotts and make it so that you could go to prison for suggesting or sustaining a boycott because people started boycotting products that came from Israel, and products that were supporting Israel. And the American government basically launched a crackdown on that behavior in retaliation. So that says to me that boycotts are very, very effective and terrifying to industries and governments as a form of influence, because there's no way that they would have changed the law and rushed to do anything about that if it wasn't having some level of profound impact. You can get arrested for a Facebook comment in England. So That's actually a stereotype about England, and I think it's also propaganda, Max. So I think settle in because I think you've been told a lie just to manipulate you. And I really want you to stop and think who lied to me about this and what do they stand to gain from making me think this about the UK? Because I, as a social media person, as someone who's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, just you name it, Blue Sky, you name it, I'm on it, right? I'm in the UK and people send me dick pics. Think people send me death threats. People send me racial abuse. People send the most heinous bullshit my way imaginable. And the police know they don't give a fuck and nobody's getting arrested. Just because if you're a well-connected footballer, the system is corrupt enough that you can pay and you can use your influence to get somebody arrested over a tweet does not mean that the average human being in the UK is going to be arrested for whatever they say on Facebook. That's just not true. That is just not how it works. If anything, I wish it was how it works because I would be a lot more free to enjoy the internet if I could do something about the abuse. But no, that's not true. You're totally wrong about that. But they make up bullshit in the States about the US, in the UK being like super, there's no such thing as free speech and you're super oppressed and you can't say anything without getting in trouble. And it's just not true. It's really, really not true. I mean, there were a bunch of people on Twitter making pedo porn, putting random children's photos through Grok filter and making like bikini pics of little kids and stuff like that. And nobody got arrested over that. Nobody. Like, you could post anything on Twitter. You're not getting arrested over it. Ed, you're on a 0. Thank you so much. Well, that's gross. Yes, it is, but it really does prove a point about how there's a massive departure between how the US thinks that the UK is going and how it's actually going. Right now, we're really poor. Right now, the UK is like crumbling financially, horrendously. And none of that has anything to do with immigrants, and none of it has anything to do with over censorship. Like, but there are like really conservative groups in America that are desperately trying to present the UK as highly edited, highly oppressed, no free speech, and that's just not how it is right now. The value of the dollar is being decimated. What is the value of the dollar right now? I didn't know that. Like, what was it and what is it now? I'm curious. The things I'll get curious about now that I'm like in my 30s. I never would have asked this question. No, I'm lying. I would have asked this when I was 10. I was a Lisa Simpson kid. I take everything back. I was writing to my MP before I was 10. You would have written to your MP about it. I don't think I was naive. I wouldn't have been like, please, Mrs. MP, could you possibly fix the entire US economy? It's stressing me out a little bit. Won't you think of our future? Won't you think of my future? I don't want to grow up in a world where the US cake owners are poor. The USA has 40 trillion in debt. I believe inflation is at 3%. Okay. But how much is a dollar worth compared to a pound? 74p will get you a dollar right now. Oh, damn. I could have sworn at one point it was almost 1 for 1. But that was a long time ago. 30s, be real. Bitch! I am a woman in my 30s, and I look like a woman in my 30s. I'm pretty sure about it. I'm not. We don't have to pretend I don't look like a woman. Because I do. I don't look like no little girl anymore. Princess! I often stay out of politics because in my life I've been surrounded by it. I know it's bad to have such escapism mindset, but I just like being myself without the world issues on my back. What do you do beside game when you want to forget the rest of the world? I kind of don't use anything like I do a lot of hobbies and things that I care about, but I never do them to escape the world. And I think it's because if you don't do politics, politics will do you. It like basically if you go, I don't want to think about that, then somebody else is in charge of it. Like somebody else is in charge of whether or not your kids get an education. They're in charge of how much you get taxed. They're in charge of whether or not your roads are safe to drive and whether or not your water's safe to drink. They're in charge of whether or not something horrendous gets built right next door to you and your entire life savings went into a house that's worth nothing. The things around you that happen if you decide to disengage from the most important and crucial cornerstones of your society, like it makes you immensely fucking vulnerable. It makes you the world's bitch. And so I know it's very hard. And I, rather than try to escape all of this stuff, I have been able to find a healthy mindset alongside of it where I am paying attention to it. I do care about it. I do like to stay informed so that I can make good choices, so that I can make choices that impact me positively, impact the world positively. And I do feel like with all of that in mind, it's so important not to hide from it, but to be able to find emotional balance with it so that it's not negatively impacting your mood, but you are able to engage with it properly. And by that, I mean fact check this shit and don't trust legacy media. Like, fact check what you hear, no matter whether you want to believe it or not. Just do not take anything at face value. Look into it. I think like the most helpful skill you'll ever learn, dick, is how to fuck dick, how to how to fact check. Almost. How to fact check, because if you don't, you're gonna be incredibly vulnerable for the rest of your life. Incredibly vulnerable for the rest of your life. If everyone who doesn't want to engage in politics just came out and voted, you wouldn't feel anywhere near as bad about the state of things? Really? The minority are voting and deciding everything right now in a number of countries. I would say I would want like a mandatory vote between a certain age group and it completely be a blind vote. So you wouldn't know who you were voting for. You would just tick off policies you agree with and policies you don't. And you couldn't apply to be a politician. You couldn't apply to run a constituency or be a mayor or a like a prime minister, anything in between, an MP, nothing. You couldn't apply to be that unless you had a certification, a qualification, which gives you where you are taught history, where you are taught environmentalism, you are taught like economics, you are taught like you're to understand social psychology and all this sort of stuff. And you were basically given the skills to actually make informed decisions that positively impact an economy, positively impact an environment, positively impact trade, positively impact these things, right? And that if you scored low, you would be permabanned from even applying for any positions of power. So you have to be qualified and know what you're doing and know the impact of what you're trying to do, so that you couldn't make a mini budget and spend like a week crashing the fucking economy and then just bugger off with a retirement fee. Like you just get like a full-on retirement pension, right? That wouldn't be a thing in my system. You would just have your day where you're called into the machine and you press the buttons and you just go, I agree with that one, I disagree with that, I agree with that, I disagree with that. And you would sit through and you would take the quiz and you'd find out who you voted for at the end. And then the only people who are allowed to do anything with it, the only people who are allowed to lead these parties are not people who just kissed the right babies or did the right charismatic thing or said the right catchy thing on Twitter. Nobody who like crowdfunded bots to make it look like they were way more popular than they were or anything. Just people who are qualified, know what the fuck they're doing. So who sets the questions? Well, the questions wouldn't be questions to you. The blind vote would just be a statements, and you say yes and no. So the statements would just be from your manifesto, right? So you wouldn't be asked, do you agree with this or that? You would just be shown like a statement that goes, would you want the water companies to be privatized? Or would you want them to be bought back by the government? And if you go government or privatized, like you click one or the other. And it goes, okay. And it just goes through a fuck ton of policies. And at the end, you find out whose policies you agree with the most. Because if people did a blind vote, most people in my country would actually vote green. Isn't that crazy? Most people don't vote green because they think that they're too wishy-washy and too idealistic. But most people in my country, if they didn't know who they were voting for, if they just clicked policies that they actually agreed with and things that they actually wanted to happen, that's who they'd vote for. Most people do not know their own politics. They have no idea who they are politically. And if they just clicked policies and nothing else, they would be jump scared by who they are underneath it all. Isn't that crazy? There's a new app in Germany called Wallomat, suggesting matching parties from questions. Major parties do not like the app. That's fucking hilarious. So we have one of those in the UK. We do. And I have actually taken that quiz before. So we already have one of those available in the UK. I don't know what it's called, and there might be multiple. So if there are multiple, maybe you should go try them and see what you get. In my country, we have multiples of those apps, and they give you the most accurate candidates for your beliefs. I think everybody should do that. I genuinely do, because a lot of people vote for things that they don't actually believe in, but just think they believe in because they are socially political rather than educationally political. So they didn't really learn anything true or false about the world or the politician that they're voting for, but they feel as though like their family members would approve of them most, and their neighbors and everyone will get on with them the most if they support a certain idea of politics. And I feel like that means that you end up not knowing what you're voting for and getting jump scared by what happens after they get voted in. Like a lot of people in the US voted for people who took away their Medicaid. And they didn't know that was going to happen because their own political party called it Obamacare. And so they thought, like, because of the way it had been branded and everything, they thought that they'd still get to keep theirs and they'll just get away. They're just going to push out all the nasty politics that they don't like out of it. And so, like, there was video upon video of people who were being interviewed going, are you getting, like, government assisted healthcare? And them going, yeah. And them going, so why did you vote for these people? And they were like, what you mean? And they're like, you're going to lose that. Are you okay with losing that? And they're like, no, my shit isn't going to be affected. And you see their face, it dawn on them. I never want to see a video like that again. I want everybody to know exactly what they're voting for before they vote for it. Otherwise, you just can't vote. I think that it should not be possible in our society today to vote for something when you don't know what it means. It is world ruining, economy ruining to have people mass vote for something before they fucking know what it means. Drives me nuts. Yeah, go ahead and run that door now. I can't hear it though. I still don't have my headset.
Anita, once upon a time I was falling in love, but now I'm only falling apart. There's nothing I can do. A total eclipse
Well,
of the heart.
my condolences, Saverin. Better luck next time. You know, just remember to butter your toast both sides. And you'll be right.
What is a dentist's favorite dinosaur? A flossivaptor.
A velociraptor. Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that, though, Quirky. I appreciate you and your 26-month prime. Especially wish you had the headset for that one. No, I'm kind of glad I didn't have to hear it. Before you marry a person, you should make them use a computer with slow internet to see who they really are. Yeah, or you could take them camping. Camping is also a good way to find out, you know, because like you shouldn't get with someone when things are going really well. You should get with them and you should like lock in after you've seen them in a crisis. You should see them at their worst before you commit to spending your life together. Camping is a real test. Yeah, and going on holiday. I find it weird that sometimes people's first time traveling or going on holiday with their partner is their honeymoon. I don't know, I think that's kind of dumb. I think you should have gone traveling or gone yeah, I think you should do something like that as part of finding out whether or not they're wedding material. You know what I mean? I mean, a wedding doesn't really mean much to me. I don't know. I can stay with someone forever if I marry them or not. Like, I don't really care about marriage. But for other people, like, it's the thing. It's like how you decide whether or not someone's permanent or not. And so if you're gonna put that landmark, I think like if I was someone who got married, I'm not. If someone proposed to me, I'd dump them. Like, no, 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 no. But like, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, it's partly just because it doesn't mean anything to me, so why are you doing this? Like, you would have to not know me very well. You're asking to spend the rest of your life with me, and you don't even know me, if you think that I would want to do that ceremony and stuff, right? But the next thing is, I think for me, my criteria would be if I was like, I'm gonna have loads of kids, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna like buy a house and live in it, and I just have a pension, retire with this person, right? And spend my whole life with them, raise kids with them, all of that. I think the things that I would do, is I would wait to see them in crisis. I'd go traveling with them a little bit before I made that decision, and I'd see them around kids and how they behave around kids before I gave them one. I think like some people want kids the way that kids want a puppy, and you gotta weed those from the chaff, you know? So you gotta separate out the people who just want a legacy, so they just want to stamp their name on a kid but never actually raise it. They have no intention to clean any diapers. They're gonna pretend to be asleep when the kid wakes up in the middle of the night, so you have to handle it. Those kind of people. You have to push them in the trash early, right? If you're gonna have kids, you cannot have like a parent who believes that like there are roles in parenthood. Nope, it's gonna take more than two people in your life to raise kids. It's gonna take both of you, it's gonna take all your family, it's gonna take a kindergarten, it's gonna take childcare, you know, what's that thing called where you abandon your kid while you work? What's that one called? But like legally. Daycare. Thank you. Yeah, like that. The child bin. That there's lots of things that it will take, right? And I feel like if I was planning to make a whole human being, I would want to be able to know that if I died, that kid's hair's still gonna get brushed. That kid's allergies are still gonna be known, you know? And like I've been listening to this really famous trial of a young lady who sadly um ended the lives of all her kids. And it's a really famous trial right now, so it keeps coming up in my feed. So I keep hearing snippets about it. And this guy called her and asked her what medication the kids can have. They needed medication. And if generic was okay. He said that he did that. He went to the store and he was like, is generic is okay? Is it this medicine? And if so, can the generic one be okay? Bear in mind, apparently, he'd been given a photo of this medication before he left that was already on his phone. And it's like, I personally would not want to have kids with someone who would need to be told 3 times what medication the kids need. Like, I think that micromanaging someone with that would be less helpful than going to the store myself. And so, like, I would be looking for someone who would never need to be reminded their birthdays, would never forget their middle names, would know exactly what medications they need, would be able to change a diaper, all of it. Like, they would be able to do 50%, but if I died, they'd be able to do 100%. Because that's what's expected of me as a mom. So that's the only kind of parent I would expect. And if they couldn't be that, right, I would not mate with them. I would not pass on their genes. Those are not good enough genes. Need someone smarter, with a better memory, with more dedication. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah. What if it's not the genes? I think that I guess it would just be weeding out terrible parents then. Why would you want a kid if you're going to choose to be that irresponsible? But either way, like, I think I'd be looking for that kind of smarts, that kind of cooperation to collab on life in that way. But also, like, if I was gonna spend the rest of my life with someone and I believed in a wedding and marriage and all that stuff, um, I wouldn't want to get with someone like who's a bridezilla, who's gonna like trash off our friendship network over who wears what color at the wedding, or who gets to be the bride of honor, the maid of honor, or like the best man and stuff. People who would cause that kind of drama, where I'm like, I know you're gonna be really finicky about people wearing the right kind of tie, and we're gonna lose like 8 friends over this. No, not you. Fuck that. Aren't you expecting a perfect mate? Those don't really exist. I think there's a difference between not wanting a bastard, not wanting someone who is just going to be lazy and detract from my life. I don't think that you have to have someone who's perfect in order to just have someone who doesn't destroy your life. And I don't think any of the things that I've stipulated are like beyond human capacity at all. And if they're rare, then only those rare people should be having kids right now until the rest get good. I think it should be a good filter. Like, I'm not asking for you to have perfect genes. I'm not asking you to have perfect anything, but just not being an asshole and being responsible. If that sounds like too much to you, then you're probably not relationship material yet. I don't think that's high expectations at all. We know Nia wouldn't remember what medications are by heart. That's why she isn't having kids. Yeah, I did literally. There are many, many situations where I have sat there and been like, I forgot my own birthday. I forgot my own birthday. I should not have kids. Oh my god. Could you imagine like a 10-year-old going, so what are we doing today, mommy? And I'm like, you're going to school, of course. It's a Wednesday. And they're like, oh. And I don't find out that I've traumatized them until, like, I get slapped with the fucking therapy bill 25 years later. Just my lack of concept of time alone precludes me from parenthood, absolutely. But also, I would just swear at them all the time. Like, even just picking up my kids from school, there'd be so many other kids that would learn a fuck ton of other words. You know? My kid's first name, first word, may well be whatever my most common tick is. Literally. We don't know what that's gonna be at the time. There are parents with Tourette's, and that's fine. I'm cool with people with Tourette's being parents. I don't find the process very appealing myself. I'm not against kids. I just don't respect them because they're easy to beat up. Oh my god. We got a mixed bag today. Can you steer your Tourette's into a certain tick, like spoon feed what comes out as a tick? I'm sorry if that's a weird question. So there's two layers to that, and the first is, if there was a way to control my Tourette's syndrome, do you really think I would tell all of the internet this? Do you not think that would be like life-ruining information for me? But typically, if you want to say something, you just say it, and when you do, that's not a tick anymore, that's just speech. Like, if you think a thing, want to say a thing, and you say it, that congratulations, you did a speak. You spoke a thing. Right? Yeah. So I think what you were saying is just like a really weird roundabout way of saying, could you just speak? And it's like, technically, yeah, I can just speak. If I just wanted to say fuck all the time, I could. Look, fuck, 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 fuck. Fuck. So basically, yeah, like, there we go. If I want to say something, I'll say something. Yes. May surprise you. I'm thoroughly shocked. I know, right? Also, it's Treats o'clock, so we have to interrupt this very educational this very educational segment to go on a little fag break, a little bitch, to go on a little detour. The bunnies. They are all sprawled and ready. I don't think they know it's treats time yet. Even Pete. Usually Pete's harassing me and looking at me intently by now, but he's not. Okay. Take that baby. Take that baby. Bitch. Baby. Oh, the baby. Oh, he's so excited. Always singing. Wobble you a little. Wobble you. Oh, soft. There we go. Bunny is happy. I mean, I can show you a thing or two. Stay on that camera, will you, mods? Stay on the camera. So, one particularly generous person got this, right? If you look, it's got carrots stuffed in. Oh, okay, my bad. I'm sorry. Oh, he's really interested in it now. Oh, sneezes. So he's really sniffing it. He's really chinning it. So what this is someone sent it on farm, and you can pull the carrots out, right? And underneath the carrots, I hid things. Underneath every single one of these carrots is a thing. Oh, doesn't like it. Doesn't like that I'm doing this. He's fighting me about it. They haven't quite figured it out yet. None of them have. I don't know why. But when you pull a carrot out for them, they will shove their face really deep inside it. Like really deep. I don't know how to show you that. Like maybe if I do this. Well, what's this? Oh, my bad. There you go. If the hole is there, they will bury their face in it so hard. Because there are treats right at the bottom of the holes. Yeah? He didn't get them though. His pellets in. He's trying to tear open the hole. But they cannot figure out that they need to pull the carrots out. He's really ramming his face in there now. You can get it. There we go. Well done. Well done. Don't break it. I think that was a hack though. Okay, I'm sorry. Here, let me pull it out for you so you can reach it. There you go. That's a taste. So like I appreciate the gift. I think it's made for people who have Dashians. This is a Dashian toy. And I think that's why the bunny don't quite understand it. I don't think it's made for bunny intelligence. Made for bunny violence, apparently. Oh, what the other treats are in there? There's more pellets. I'm pretty sure I'd put like a proper bunny treat in one of these. Maybe we can learn him that way. I'm just looking in all of, oh yeah, there's a treat now. Look. If you pulled it down, he's lost interest. Okay, never mind. Okay, well, so far it's a failed experiment, but I'll keep trying with them. And in the meantime, I'm just going to quickly check if I have put the headset on the table over here behind me. And I haven't. I don't see it. It's not here. No. It is just fine. But anyway, there you go. Dashing experiment failed. Nope. I'm checking the drawers, because, like, this is essentially a homemade... No, don't know where it is. It's a homemade, desk that I've made from a kitchen table. You'll see pictures of it very soon, actually. I've made a little bit of content where you get to have a good look at my desk. And, I basically have... so that's going to be on all my socials, probably. And you'll see, it's a kitchen table on top of 2 IKEA drawers. And that's what it's been for, like, most of my streaming career. I shit you not. And the reason why it is that is because, so I used to do LAN parties when I was younger, where I'd game and I'd put, like, everyone would come over with their PC and we'd all connect them up in a line. And, I basically I MacGyvered a desk that was long enough for us all to do that by using shelf brackets that were like pennies. Shelf brackets that were like really strong metal. And then some discarded old wood that couldn't be used because it had cracks in it for like building. It was like unsafe building wood. And I nailed it all together and made this really, really long desk. And then after I moved from my first place, I ended up still needing a desk, but that one it wasn't fit for purpose anymore. So I made this. And I love it. And I feel like it doesn't look like it's not even held together. There's no screws. I just got 2 sets of drawers and put this on top. Would recommend. Very sturdy. Just do the calculations to know like how load bearing it is, because my PCs are heavy. Like I'm pretty sure this one over here costs thousands and weighs more than me. What do you think people of the olden days thought when they witnessed an eclipse? Well, it depends on where they were and how educated they were. Because to be quite honest with you, people were a little bit more savvy and in the know than people realize. Yes, there were some flaws in the popular logic and what was written down and passed down from in written books and stuff. But that's not entirely because there was an absence of knowledge. So over and over again throughout the world, there are ancient depictions of a planet in a solar system where the Earth is not the center of the universe, right? So that idea is much older than we give it credit for. And there were even societies that made things like the Antikythera mechanism, which is an ancient computer with gears in it, which literally its purpose is suspected to be calculating the position of celestial bodies so you can understand what's going on in the world. So we did know we had a moon. We did know the moon was a ball that passes between us and the sun. So like many people throughout history for at least a few thousand years knew what the fuck was going on. And so it wasn't a matter of like olden days versus modern days. It's literally wherever there was an access to any kind of education, people fucking knew. And wherever the education resources were low, people didn't fucking know. That was the difference. So how good your society was doing was basically how much you freaked out. Mwah! People tend to think that ancient times were just cavemen. We had more advanced ancestors than we realized. Absolutely. And we're discovering like every year with new and more new discoveries, just how more advanced they are in many ways than we thought they were. So we're pushing back the advent of farming further and further back the more we discover, for example. But yeah, we're finding out that people had craft, music, and like really ornate craftsmanship as well, very early, long before we were human shaped. You know, we had incredibly good capacity for medicine, for technology to some degree. I'm not saying that they had like laser guns or anything. I'm just saying that they knew how to build things, make things, do surgery thousands of years ago and survive it, which means that we've had to reinvent hygiene somewhere along the line. Someone deleted hygiene from our discovery, like from our skill tree, and we had to respec it. Would you say that being a woman was easier during caveman times than now? I mean, let's go through this bit by bit, bitch. For a start, I have never been a caveman, so I can't compare the two. I've never lived in prehistoric times. Also, very little of our knowledge of prehistoric times has been fully preserved. What little has been fully preserved is poorly researched because it was discovered during either the Victorian times or during the during the war era and things like this, during a time where men were making shit up about history because it was comfortable. So like our common idea of how cavemen lived was pretty much popularized between the 1940s and 1960s and was based on their idea of gender roles rather than the actual evidence we have. We've had to relook at everything again to understand what role men and women played, and we're finding that it's actually blurrier and much more equal and just like not as role-based as we thought it was, because we're just discovering that a bunch of like people who were in charge and were wealthy in prehistoric times were women. We're finding that a lot of hunters were women. We're finding that a lot of things that we thought were allocated by gender because the people who dug it up thought so, because that's just how they expected it to be, and not because there was any evidence of that. Which means that I can't accurately tell you what it was like to be back then, a woman. But I will say that there are lots of things that I can benefit from now that I can't benefit from then. For example, I just had surgery for endometriosis. I would have had to have bared that burden my entire life and suffered with it until I died. And I would have never known what was wrong with me. And I could have tried 1,000 medications that would normally work on anybody else when they're going through their period or whatever, that wouldn't have worked on me. And I would have just not known what was going wrong until I died. And I don't see that we have any evidence to say that endometriosis was treated back then. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe several thousand years ago, they did have endometriosis surgery. I mean, they had surgery for edema. They knew what edema was, and they carved holes in people's skulls and healed those skull holes. And people lived for many years after those surgeries. So, like, maybe, but there's no evidence that we have that, for example. So I think, like, medication is better. Overall, all education is better for men and women, which I benefit from. So, like, I don't know how to separate, like, I kind of feel like life for everybody back then was just god-awful. There were a lot of diseases and things that you were full prey to. There were a lot of animals that would just eat you alive if they found you. And, excuse me, what are you doing? It's okay, I think. So, like, I think life was generally worse for people back then than it is now, exponentially. How much of that can I say is about being a woman back then versus now? I have no idea, and I don't think that anyone, even historians, truly have a full 100% scope of what the difference would be. Cave women were hunters. Yeah, we know that now, but I think, like, don't tell the manosphere, because I feel like a lot of their idea of why their, like, gender roles are natural was based on the idea that only men hunted. So they're going to be very disappointed when they find out all the evidence we have that it wasn't a gendered thing and that hunting was just a thing people did for food. It was not allocated by sex whatsoever. Okay, last D question. Vampire or werewolf? For what? What for? For romance? To be? To have as a pet? To have as a bodyguard? Jacob or Edward? Is Jacob the one that was a dog? And is Edward the one who was, like, possibly a... I don't know. He Why not both? I feel like there's probably people who are fans of both, and I don't think I could describe them in a way that does their passion justice. Let's just put it that way. Because, like, technically, wouldn't the vampire be a pedophile by vampire standards? Like, how old is Edward again? Few hundred years old? I'm 36, and I would feel like a creep if I went back to high school to find a mate. Go ahead and run that dono.
Don't forget to play
Oh,
Dark
thanks, Mert.
Souls.
Don't forget to play Dark Souls. I'll take that under advisement. Thank you. Thank you. Wasn't he stuck as a teen? Don't give me that shit, real rabbit. Look at me. Let's be real. Just between you and me, okay? If I looked 16 for the rest of my life, I would rather date my own age, then only date 16-year-olds for the rest of my life. I don't care about the way that people look at me. I care about having to deal with fucking 16-year-olds and how weird that is. I don't want to have to even voluntarily be in the same room as a 16-year-old on a day-to-day. Okay? I cannot conceive somebody wanting to be with them romantically at all, unless they're 16. Good point. Now you're thinking, okay? I think there has to be something fundamentally very, very disgustingly wrong with you to be 20 and want to date a 16-year-old. Let alone be a few hundred years old and want to date someone in high school. I didn't do most formal education. I was homeschooled. Some people call that trickle-down stupidity or whatever, but like, I was homeschooled, so I don't know how old you are when you're in high school. I just know that it would be fucking creepy for someone several hundred years old to be wanting to go dating there. Okay? Because I still consider a 20-year-old to be like a baby, dating-wise. Like, even 20's too young. Like, that's not a fully formed, emotionally stable human being that's formulated an identity to present me with, right? They don't even know who they are. I wouldn't know who I'm dating yet, right? So I feel like Edward is the pedo of the two, and then there's a guy who is also an animal. And I feel like you're just picking between committing the rest of your life to, like, a questionably bestial situation or a questionably pedophilic one. And neither of those look like good fucking options. If they were the last two options on Earth, I would pick my vibrator. People are like, oh, Jacob Edward. You would pick either of them? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'd pick my vibrator at the end of the line, like, when there is no such thing as batteries anymore, and the electrical grid is down, and that thing is just a useless clump of plastic, I'm still picking it over these two people. Oh, this is going to be fun. My first Sweet Anita stream, and I get a marriage talk and then a pedo talk. I'm glad you're here for the ride, Panda. But this is my problem with it. Like, there are a lot. It's like a trope that's really fucking common in women's wank books. Like, where I don't actually remember what they're called, but you know, the wank books that they read. And like, where you get the pick between the vampire and the werewolf, and they're jealous and they fight each other over you, and you get to have the pick. I've read them. I've not read the whatever that one was, like it's not 50 Shades of Gay. What is it? What Twilight? So I've not read Twilight, but I did read like two other vampire versus werewolf love triangle bullshits, and like, every step of the way, I was just like, like, why are we choosing either of them? They're both awful, and they write them to both be awful too. They don't make them flawlessly wonderful people that are just so cute and handsome and lovely. They make them fucked up people on a personal level, where if you took away the werewolf and the vampire part of it, they would just both be cunts. They would just be the worst people on the planet anyway. Like, but they're really hot. But your imagination is pretty hot too, right? But I've literally read passages. I really vividly remember in one of them, there was this lady and she kills, like, she's basically like a supernatural lady. Like, you know, Supernatural, where there's Dean and Chad Winchester, whatever their names are. And they go around killing evil things that are like supernatural. Well, she was one of those. She was like a supernatural being killer. And she just so happened to start accidentally romancing a werewolf and a vampire at the same time, and they're jealous of each other and they're fighting over each other. And initially the vampire wins and she goes to stay with him, and then she feels really guilty and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, to the werewolf. And I think that's, sorry if there's spoilers, I think that's how Twilight goes. I don't know, I've not watched it. So I think there's the stereotype that the obvious decision is the vampire and you go with them for a little while and then you kind of ruminate over your mistake and be like, oh, but I still like him a little bit, but then you stay with the vampire, is usually how these novels go. I've not really seen a lot of these. I've read 2, and then there's Twilight. In all 3 of these examples, I feel like people are all just like, well, obviously the vampire, right? Because you get till you look young forever, and, you know, you get to, like, the immortality and the young forever part really sells it for a lot of people. But in this case, on the one that I read, werewolves aren't just, like, dog people. Werewolves are a community, a status-based, like, incredibly hierarchical, bestial collection of half-animal people that, and some of them were, like, were-swans. Like, some of them were were-rats. Some of them were they were were-animals, and each one had their own, like, clan historically that goes back thousands of years and stuff, and they have their own traditions and everything. They're like tribes. And she gets in a situation where he has to be chained up because he's going to change, right? And his people force a change on him because they don't like that he fell for a human girl. So they force the change on him in the hopes, prematurely, that he will eat her and the problem will be solved because he's like eyed up for alpha or some stupid shit, and they're like, we don't want a human being to be like your partner during that because that would be bad for the pack. So they like try to make it be like, oopsie, guess you ate her, never mind. And he tries to hold back his transformation, and she's lying underneath him and he's pinned her down and he's transforming above of her, and he turns gooey, like bits of his skin start sloughing off, and he's like, just oozing transformation goo and ichor, and just bits of himself are raining on her. She's like, don't eat me now. I think someone's getting in my mouth. Don't eat me now. And like, this whole scene was not speaking to me sexually whatsoever. At no point was I like, damn, if only that could be me. Like, none of that is a moistening scenario whatsoever. And in it, actually, that was where she went. She ran away, she escaped, and got drunk and woke up in the vampire's bed. I think that whole situation made the choice for her in the books that I read, right? And she was kind of like, oh fuck, I just did this with the vampire guy, because she was like, I was thinking about killing you yesterday, because it is kind of my job, whoopsie. So the werewolf guy wakes up and he's like, where is she? Did I eat her? Oh god, what? Because obviously there's blood everywhere because he transformed, and he's like, is all of that mine? Did she die? And he's like hopelessly in love with her, and he follows her scent and finds her naked in bed with the vampire. And that's how he gets his heart crushed. And he's like, and he like whimpers and runs away, right? And none of this sounds sexy to me. I'm like, great, so we've got goo, near death, and guilt. Like, that's all that's speaking to me from the situation. It's such a weirdly common fantasy in these books. And I'm like, this would ruin my day. Like, this is like 3 things that would ruin my life in one day. How are people wanking to this? How are people getting all hot and steamy and debating who they'd pick over this? What the fuck is going on here? Whatever's up with me, whatever non-neurotypicalness I've got, it's not the one that finds this situation sexy at all. Like, I feel like, I don't mean to toot my own horn, this has been very, very devastating for me, but I'm always in some level of, like, love triangle or love octagon. There's always people who are romantically interested in me that I'm not romantically interested in, causing drama in my life unexpectedly. And, like, I never once have I ever wanted to read a book where I'm in this triangle, either making someone feel guilty, making myself feel guilty, or just, like, having to navigate needlessly complicated bullshit in order to get laid. None of that is like, oh, it's so saucy, yes. And then sprinkle in the fucking pedophilia of it and the bestiality of it, and who wants this? Whose boyfriend is so bad that this looks good? Right? actual hell fiction. Yeah, what the fuck? I've never got it. I've never understood it. Never once. Because, like, I've read through it, like, wait, wasn't I supposed to get horny at some point during this? At no point did this ever strike me. And there were a lot of details in that book that I remember, and I'm thinking back to it and I'm like, Mom, why did you recommend these books to me? Because, like, I would have been quite young. I would have been like a teenager. And there was some crazy shit that happened in there. I swear that's the book I found out what fisting was. I swear it was that book. And I was reading the book like, what? No way? I mean, I swear it was. Unless I'm mixing up like 8 different books. I learned that from PewDiePie? Well, it's been a while since I watched a PewDiePie video. His content must have really progressed since I watched him then. Wait, I'm bad with names. Are we thinking about the same guy? I swear your mom just treated you like a little sister and just wanted to laugh at you, wanting to bleach your eyes. Yeah, probably. Vampire fisting, that escalated quickly. Well, how did you guess? Did you read the same book? But yes, it was on the vampire side that these kind of things were occurring. I'm curious, how does demisexuality work with books like that? Well, none of these books, I've never read a book that really does it for me, so you're gonna have to ask a demisexual that it does work for, because it doesn't work for me. Are you thinking of 50 Shades? No, I'm not. Like, if you wanted the details, I vaguely remember there was a vampire, and it was the vampire that she was into and ended up in a relationship with. And he had a love of his life that he was deeply, deeply in love with. And she was this beautiful, pale, blonde lady that everyone loved. And they were in an open relationship hundreds of years ago. And something went wrong. Their big, happy mansion caught fire. And he was in a relationship with her and another man. So they were in a like menage a trois. And like the other man got horrifically maimed during the whole situation, and he's like half burned on one side. He's like the most beautiful man known to humanity on one side, and horrifically disfigured on the other side. And then like she didn't survive the fire. And like for some reason we find out that the guy with the burns on half of his body is magnificently endowed. Like, right? And so she discovers this and she's like, wait, she was with him? How? How does one even accommodate something like that? And so he politely goes, well, she was a woman who was very talented and could accommodate a man of many sizes. And like it was somewhere in that discussion that the fisting was brought up. I don't remember how. I started blanking out at this point. I was just like skimming pages to like the rest of the story, like, okay, and where did we go next? Who did we fight next? Yeah, so that was a hell of a book. I guess if you're like new to that kind of literature, it would be kind of wild, but to be honest with you, I think that book that I was reading was like one of the tamer ones for this kind of women's literature. I think it does get significantly wilder in general for like ladies material. And, like, on a scale of, like, 1 to 10, those books were probably, like, a 2 to 3 on, like, how vivid, wild, crazy, not entirely legal they get. Yeah, it was like a tamer book. And I think the reason what made it tamer is it kind of reads like the average like show today. Like Game of Thrones, people will sit and eat dinner with their family and watch things like Game of Thrones these days. People watch things like Dexter and stuff. Like you got to remember there's a lot of sex scenes and a lot of like non-consensual sex scenes and a lot of messed up stuff and things like incest that happen in like really casually watched shows with massive viewer bases. And so like when you judge those kinds of books that women are reading, I feel like people might go, "Oh my god, what? That's shocking." And it's like I've seen 20 times more shocking things being played at 8 p.m. on TV, and loads of people are massive fans of it. So, I don't know why there's so much judgment for it, but like I stopped reading all of that stuff. Like I don't think I really kept going with that series. And probably like looking back, I don't think it really tickled me in the way that I was hoping. I think I was hoping for a book about a lady a lady fighting lots of monsters. And then it just got a bit too horny for me, I think is why I stopped, because I don't think I completed that series. I was just like, "Okay, I'm gonna put the book down now." Because things can be horny, that's fine, it's just it just makes me bored rather than excited. Because, like, I was reading it for fight scenes, and I was getting the internal vaginal diameter of random vampire strangers, and I was just like, "This why would I wanna know this in my downtime? Like, I could be doing anything with this time. This is not knowledge is power, Anita." So, yeah, for me, mm, was not my cup of tea, was not what I was interested in. But, yeah, here comes the ethical dilemma of, like, would you pick the werewolf or the vampire? And I feel like most writers seem to consistently pick the vampire. When they are writing the characters themselves, I had to check where Pete was before he's right behind me. He's like, "Eh." There. You see that little loaf? Look at him. He's so cute. That's where the boy is. Um, so yeah, for me, I think I wouldn't pick the werewolf just because they are the least human. I'm not sexually attracted to unhuman things. I'm barely attracted to humans. There's a very narrow, slim slither of humans I would be attracted to. I prefer those ones to be of age, and the downside to the vampire is, in vampire years, I'm a child. I'm only 36. I'm pretty sure when I'm 300 years old, I would feel like a bit of a pedo being with someone who's a tenth of my age. A tenth. What's that rule that people do? Half your age and add 5 years or something? And that's like your max? It's something like that. I can't add 7. There you go. So, like, imagine a vampire doing that. So for you, it'd be 157 if you were 300. Exactly. That would literally rule out every single human being in existence. The closest I would get is like the only 122-year-old. And I don't think I think that she's probably past wanting those kinds of things at that age. I don't know. Maybe that's an assumption, but like I doubt they're looking for a new partner at that age. And so, like, I know that it's like a really common thing for people to be like, "Ooh, should I pick the werewolf or the vampire in this novel?" Because it's such a common thing. But why? Why is it a common thing? Why does anyone think? Do they just not think it through? Do they just not think it through? My best guess is that, like, quite a lot of women don't really find a lot of men attractive, but they do find the concept of a man attractive. And maybe the werewolf represents, like, the very carnal, out of control, highly lustful side of their sexuality that they want to appeal to, but that's in direct conflict with the side of them that wants someone who's intelligent, calm, mature, well off. Because why are all the vampires rich? Is it compound interest? What's going on in there? But like the vampire is like some well off, handsome man, you know, who doesn't look straight 99% of the time. They want an undead ancient twink. They don't want like the average guy, right? And it's like those are the things that appeal to them, and not anything in between. So it's like these ideas of masculinity, these fictitious concepts of a man that aren't really about the man himself and his identity, but rather like just some weird supernatural things that kind of nod to little bits that are attractive about manhood, but not that aren't actually genuine personality that you have to deal with. I think like people are attracted to the werewolf and the vampire in the same way that women, if you go to like the sex toy part of anything, quite often the lingerie for men is just a face mask. Did you know that? Like, more often than not, you're not going to find like stockings and suspenders for men to buy to wear for their women on Valentine's Day. They're not going to go full Rocky Horror with it or anything. What they're usually going to do is that they're usually going to put on like a Jason mask or like a like some sort of like burglar mask, something that covers your entire head. You didn't know this? It's really, really, really common. And so like if you wear like what's he called? Freddy Edward Scissorhands? No. Freddy. There's a guy. Freddy Krueger. Like, you can dress up as Freddy Krueger, and as long as you're just wearing a mask over your face and you have your muscles out and you do a dance. I feel like this is, if you want to be a thirst trap on the internet as a man, if you want to be a thirst trap for women, cover your face with a burlap sack, get abs and pecs. Ghostface from Scream is a really common one that women find hot. Just wear a mask, get your pecs out, do a dance. That's it. That's the entire formula for being a hot man on the internet. What? I don't make the rules. Okay? If you don't believe me, I'm sure you can go watch the videos. You can go find the videos. One of the sexiest men voted it. There was a top 40 sexiest men. There's a motorcycle man from a TV show. I think it's like a show about cars. And they have this interlude where they just watch a guy who's never shown his face. He wears a bicycle helmet and he just rides around in a motorcycle and does things on a motorcycle. He might just be called Motorcycle Man. And from Top Gear, there you go. He was voted one of the top 40 hottest men. And I know this because of a comedian called, what's his name? Fuck. There's a comedian who was voted in it, and he was kind of offended because he scored lower than the Motorcycle Man, and nobody's even seen the Motorcycle Man. And he was like, "What the fuck? I'm less hot than a faceless man." What was his name? It wasn't Gervais or Will Ferrell. He's a blonde guy. He's kind of a gentle fella. He's very British and he's very funny. And he shares a first name with another comedian who has kind of wild hair and a very fabulous demeanor, but got cancelled recently and then turned heavily, heavily to God. His first name is Russell. He's not Russell Howard. Russell Howard is the guy he shares a first name with. So he's a Russell. Wait, he is Russell Howard, because I'm thinking the other one is Russell Brand, right? So I think he is Russell Howard. Thank you. Oh my god. So I remember Russell Howard bringing it up because he scored lower than the Motorcycle Man. And he's like, how? You don't even know what the Motorcycle Man was. And then he did a reveal and he did a whole scene and he took off the motorcycle helmet and it was him. And he was like, joke's on you. So I think that was like where I learned about it. But like that was also where I first got the proof that women kind of are more attracted to the concept of a man than an actual man. Which is technically an impossible standard. I can understand. I don't usually agree in any other circumstance that women have too high a standard. But I can completely understand why it might be hard to live up to being a completely faceless man. Like, okay, I'll give you that's a pretty impossible one. I thought women were turning lesbian. No, I don't think women are turning lesbian. I'd be ecstatic if they were, to be honest with you, because I could really cash in there. Okay? I feel like there are more opportunities to date men than there are women. And I date both. Okay? So it's like buying Neapolitan ice cream, but you very occasionally get strawberry, but 9 times out of 10, it's just all vanilla. Right? And you're like, "Oh, I'd really like some genuinely Neapolitan ice cream where there's just, like, the option of all 3 flavors at some point." Right? So, like, I wish I could agree with you, I really do wish I could agree with you, but I don't think women are overwhelmingly turning lesbian at all. I do think that more people are probably able to identify as gay, in certain countries at this time than previously. I don't think that means that there's a climb in how many of them are. I just think there's a climb in how many people are willing to admit that they are, which is 2 different things. Like, I met a Romanian guy who genuinely thought that there were no gay men in Romania, but they just don't have that over there. I laughed. Do you change the ice cream toppings? No, I'm always the top. There are no gays in Ireland? I've not seen that clip. You'll have to send it to me, Tolunas. Did the bunnies watch the eclipse? The bunnies had no fucking clue that the eclipse was happening. I do not trust Peter to not stare at the sun on an average day. Like, I will literally come over and shield his little eyes while he's out in the garden. Because I'm like, are you stupid? What are you doing? I just came back and the first thing I asked was, what did B start this time? B asked me, would I go for Jacob or Edward? And I probably should have just picked one and moved on. Honestly, I'm sorry, team. I'm sorry, gang. It's okay. I very much enjoyed the dissertation. Yeah, I mean, it does raise the question, there should be an age of consent with vampires. Why in all the vampire lore is there not an age of consent? And why is it not age relational? Right? I think personally, unless you're like 6 million years old, I think there should be some exceptions, but if you were a vampire and you could live forever, you have to only date people who are around 25% or more of your age after you get to 120. Vampires are the ultimate catfishes? Kinda. I mean, isn't a catfish I'm gonna question this. Maybe, but I thought catfishes were people who told you that they were hot when they're not, and then they turn up and they are nothing like their picture whatsoever. So, like, men might lie about their age, women might lie about their weight, you know? Both parties might lie about their age, but, like, I thought it was when you turn up and they're not what they said they were in their profile aesthetically. And I feel like vampires are what they say they are in the profile aesthetically. That is not a lie. Like, technically, I could be a vampire and say, I like long walks on the beach. I'm generally athletic and hot, bit of a night owl, you know? I don't really enjoy desserts or but I am into having fancy dinners. And like none of these things would technically be a lie. I feel like it's less catfishing and just more undisclosed STI. I feel like tricking someone into dating you without knowing you're a vampire is an undisclosed STD. It's a disease. Being a vampire is an STD. And so like I feel like it's more on that level. What? No, are you confused, Grim Storyteller? No, being a vampire is an STD. You bite someone, usually on the neck, you give them a hickey, and then they develop a bunch of symptoms, like being allergic to sunlight and garlic, and like it changes your lifespan forever. I'd call that an STD. I'm sorry, and it's an incurable one too. I'm never going to see vampires the same again. Vampirism is 100% an STD. And I kind of also feel like vampires have a hard time not actually eating you whilst they're sleeping with you. This is a very, very common part of the lore, that they're like, I love you and I'm lusting after you, but I'm also just kind of hungry. And like, I know it looks like I'm looking at you as if you're the most attractive woman in the world, but actually you just are KFC shaped in my brain. Like you are just a floating wad of chicken to me right now, right? And so in that sense, if you sleep with a vampire, you are more likely than not going to wake up a vampire or just never wake up at all. And so like when you sleep with them, you are more likely to end up in the same situation as them. And so I would call it an STD. I'm sorry. If you sleep with a vampire, there's a 99% chance you will come away with a life-changing disease. You saw the eclipse? I did! At first I saw it through a box. Bitch! I was like, I brought a cereal box and I poked a hole in it and I looked, I did the whole box poking technique to view the eclipse. And then a guy came up to me and went, my girlfriend wanted you to have these, and gave me a pair of special eclipse glasses. And I was going to take them home and stick them in my scrapbook, but then I saw a little old lady who didn't have them when I was leaving, and this eclipse was still going on when I was leaving, so I gave them to her. Are immortals bug chasers? Well, typically, wouldn't that make the person who wants to become a vampire that though? But I feel like most people who want to interact with a vampire, I don't know if they necessarily want to become a vampire a lot of the time. I think a lot of the time they just want to be consumed. Like, I think that's part of the fetish of it. Vampires also like virgins because of the blood. Well, the funny thing about that is, I think that would have to be bullshit because there is no medical evidence that any changes occur in your blood after you've had sex. Like, I feel like the idea that like genitals change your worth or your blood or like anything about you that you can have a title for before you've ever mated and after you've ever mated is just bollocks. So, like, there would have to like, there's no way that vampires prefer virgins. They're not gonna be able to tell. You can't do a blood test for virginity. You just can't. That's not a thing. It would be weaponized against women immediately if there was a blood test for virginity. Maybe they're afraid of STDs. Well, vampires can't actually contract illnesses, so STDs would just be flavoring. I don't know what, like, difference it would make, but I'm pretty sure that any kind of illnesses you had would just change flavors for a while. Can vampires survive in the vacuum of space? Could they just swim in space? I don't think they'd be able to move in space because it would be too cold. Like, their muscles would, at the very least, solidify. At the very least. Probably worse, but they'd probably solidify. So, I don't think anybody's swimming in space. Anybody at all. Even if they could survive being solidified. So you're saying to cure all the world's horrible diseases, becoming a vampire? I mean, in this fictitious world where vampires exist, yeah, they were considered immune to all diseases and undead. So they were considered like dead beings. So technically, yeah, I mean, there's lots of storylines where people deliberately became vampires to avoid dying of cancer and such things. Like that's a very common storyline. Please, I will do this thing in exchange. You must make me a vampire, for I am a rich loser dying of a stupid illness. Like that is, and then the vampire takes the thing and then doesn't convert them, and he's like, no, who would have expected the evil vampire to betray me, the rich guy he doesn't want to sleep with? Like, what a curveball that was. That is a very common trope. But I do think that being a vampire is less like an escape from every disease and more like Mr. Burns syndrome. Like, Mr. Burns technically has like a teaspoon of every disease known to man, even ectopic pregnancy somehow. Um, and like, so he's in a fine equilibrium where he's just got so many diseases that one slight change in that equilibrium and he'd finally die, right? And I feel like it seems to me like vampirism is Mr. Burns syndrome, where you just get a bunch of other horrible afflictions and they all cancel each other out. It's like you can't see sunlight ever again. And you can't eat without immediately shitting yourself. And you rely on blood transfusions like every single night to stay alive. And and the list goes on and on and on. They've got they're super sensitive hearing and sense of smell, and anyone who actually has those things will tell you it's a fucking curse. I listened to a lady who had this issue, and she was sat there with earmuffs whispering to the screen. And she was saying, like, this thing happened to me when I was really young, and like now every sound is excruciating, and even talking for long periods of time is excruciating. And she's like whispering everything about it. And like the cars outside were so loud to her really super sensitive ears that she would get nausea and headaches every time a car passed. And she has to, even with her headphones on at all times, and even things like brushing her teeth are so loud that she can't maintain her oral hygiene without being sick for a week. Like, she will be ill for a week if she brushes her teeth because the sound just impacts her so badly, right? And like, as someone with a really sensitive sense of smell, you know when people are incontinent, you know when people are on their period, you know when people have just mated, you know, like, you walk down the street and you can smell sewage underneath the street. Like, if someone steps in dog shit, it's the most excruciatingly obnoxious thing in the world. I remember someone did that at school once. They stepped in dog shit and they did not know. And I was like, how the fuck do you not know? Like, I was at the front of the class and they were right at the back, and I could smell them through all of these kids, and it was like making me nauseous, and he didn't even know. He didn't even fucking know. So like, picked nose 4 times now. I've just got really itchy inner nose. Like, I'm not digging for anything. There's not anything in there. It's just itchy. Just like, It goes away when I take what's it called? Antihistamines. So if I take like a children's antihistamine, my nose stops being itchy on the inside. I don't know what that's about. But it really makes me think of my grandma. I swear to God, all of the women in my line of my mom's side of the family seem to have had this like undiagnosed like immune system problem that they, because like I swear I get a lot of these symptoms from them. Like my grandma used to sit there and she used to put tissue over the tip of her finger and she used to do this and like do this right in her nose and outwards, and like it would really stretch her nose forward. And she'd do this over and over again because it was really irritated in there. And like looking back, I would sit there watching her do that and be like, I wonder why you do that. And now I'm sat here like, ugh, ugh. Aw, thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. That's incredibly generous. Let me have it. Let you have what? What do you want? Sorry to say that you may have miserable genetics. Yeah, I kind of feel like people should really stop asking me why I don't have kids. They really just, anyone who's ever tried to watch me try to eat a sandwich will just be like, yeah, you know what? Never mind. And I think like even if you leave behind the fact that I can barely swallow any food because of my genetics, right? The fact of the matter is that just if a sandwich can best me, I don't think I could deal with a child. Not if a sandwich is too much. If I have to recover from a sandwich. Dio says, insult me, lol. So the guy who chucked me a 20 is like, let me have it. Go on, insult me. I don't know if you know who I am. My name's Sweet Anita. Like, what the fuck services did they tell? What? I mean, I would say it's false advertising, but it's right there in the name. Who goes to Sweet Anita for a fucking roasting? Do you think that money triggers Tourette's? Because you should probably donate a bit more just to see. I think like 20 would be a bit of a low dose for that research, to be honest with you. Your nose is more sensitive than a great white shark. Well, I don't know. I've never asked a great white shark, but my nose is pretty sensitive. Like, I walked into my mom's house and I was like, your rabbit has an infection. And she was like, what? And then I got down near the rabbit and I sniffed at the ears. I was like, yeah, it's in the ears. There's something wrong with his ear. His ear smells wrong. And she looked in it and he had a massive infection all the way down his ear into his skull and in his jaw. He had to have major surgery. And I can tell you now, having super smell is not a good thing. Like, I don't think it's evolution to have the most heightened version of every sense you possibly can, because it'd actually be a hindrance to a lot of species to be able to see every color, or to be able to smell really well, so only some can and others can't, you know? There's a reason for these things. You get exactly the right level that's right for your existence. More is not better when it comes to senses. You could catch drug smugglers. Yeah, but probably not because of the smell of the drugs, to be honest with you. I grew up in a housing estate, and I can tell you that there are like 8 tells on a person who deals drugs before you ever smell the drugs. Like, there are lifestyle choices that leave a smell ecosystem. Everyone has a smell ecosystem. It's not that everyone has a unique smell, it's that you gather up a cluster of things together in your day-to-day life. So it's like anyone could smell of, say, weed, or anyone could smell of BO, or anyone could smell of like the particular flower that grows in their garden, or whatever, right? And that wouldn't narrow it down to specifically you. But the combination of all 3 would, right? I think that's what makes a unique smell. It's not that every smell is unique, it's that you just have a profile. You're like a little bee, and you go and dab on lots of different kinds of pollen, right? And bees, they make different jars of honey. Like a beehive near specific type of area will produce like clear honey or murky honey, or like you can get green, red, yellow, orange, white honey, and it's all dependent on like what pollen they're picking up. Humans have a scent that is just picked up on what you've been around. You just soak in a lot of stuff, and then your diet and your hormones and your age, I guess. Like I can break apart your BO, but if you masked your BO, I would still be able to know it's you by all the things that you typically pick up on your clothes. And like, there's a profile that is a tell. For example, children have a smell. People smell young. Like, young people, they smell young. People who are obviously old but smell young are people who just spend a lot of time around little kids, right? But then, like, on top of that, parents typically in the UK, they cook a lot more oven-based food, and they clean their ovens less when they have like a 1, 2, 3, 4-year-old. And so if you have dirty oven, freezer food, when you smell like, you know, not like fish fingers, but like the grease that hangs in the air after you've cooked fish fingers, that you get like caked on oil on your tray when you cook things. And you get like a cooking tray, and it goes from like silver to brown. Every time you cook that brown dish, you are filling the whole house with a smell, and it clings to you. It really, really clings to you. So, like, unclean ovens and, like, unclean oven trays, they bake a smell into you. And so, like, that is a very common parent smell, because if you are working and providing for kids, you're probably going to give them frozen food. And so, like, that's one of the tells of a parent. Like, kids have a smell. The certain types of washing detergent that parents use, for some reason, a lot of parents pick the same washing detergents as well. There's like loads of little tells like that, and it clusters together, and I can sit in a car with someone and go, how many kids do you have? Because I don't need to know whether they're a parent, I already know. Do you think that nose hairs stop smell good? No, I think that nose hairs play a really important role in your body, and you should absolutely keep them. So my understanding is that nose hairs play a part in your sense of smell, but also they protect you from breathing in particles, so they keep your lungs clean. And they also help prevent you from getting illnesses, because an entry point for germs is typically the nose, and the nose hairs and the mucus, it gets stuck there and it flows back out again. So like, nose hairs are important. Don't be ashamed of your nose hairs, keep your nose hairs. They serve a real use, they are protective and useful, and you should keep them. Do gay guys have a specific smell? Not that I really know of. Like, I don't think there's a way to smell gay, if I'm quite honest with you. Like, I haven't been close enough to a load of gay men to know. I haven't, like, sampled all of their BO or anything on a really deeply intimate level. But, like, generally speaking, when I've smelled clusters of smells on people, never once have I been like, ah, yeah, that's a gay cluster. Gay cluster. Blau. Okay, so when I had that tick where I sniffed Blau and it said he smelled gay, that was not a truth tick. I can't smell gay. I don't think that homosexuality. Maybe I just haven't been around enough gays, and maybe I'll change my tune and be like, But like for now, all I can say is that gay people, there's no specific smell like that is a cluster that's like I could pick out a parent. I could pick out people with certain kinds of illnesses, and that makes sense. I can pick out people who eat a bit too much dairy yogurt. Dairy yogurt will change you. There is also people who have a drink. What's the drink? Like, there's a drink that makes you smell like cat's piss. I know when you've been drinking that. It's terrible. It's like it's sugar-free drinks. Sugar-free drinks make you stink of cat's piss. You smell so stale. It does something to you. I don't know what it's changing in your body, but it's changing your body, and your body is stressed. Is it all sugar-free drinks? Yes. I think it's like one of the flavor, the things they use. It's something like aspartame or something. I think low-key it's aspartame. That's my running theory. There are a lot of ingredients in sugar-free drinks, so I could be wrong, but my main theory is aspartame. But whatever it is, people who don't drink a lot of water, but do drink a lot of sugar-free soda specifically, they smell like cat's piss. It's strong, sharp, acrid, musty, and it comes out in your BO, but even when you're not sweaty, I can smell it. And there's something that comes off of your face. There's like something that comes off of your face here, and it changes as you age. Your face smells different as you get older. I don't know why. And your saliva changes when you are hungry. Your saliva changes when you're scared. Your saliva changes when you're eating. And your saliva changes after you've eaten. And some people, I can tell that something changes in their body and their saliva because their saliva tastes kind of like salmon. It smells kind of like salmon after they have eaten. Yeah, I don't know what's happening in their mouths, but their mouths smell like salmon even if they haven't eaten salmon. Like, there's a saliva change. I don't know what happens. I think something, I haven't looked it up, but I think there's something physical that happens to your saliva when you are eating, that your body prepares the food. Like, maybe saliva has a different use when it's breaking down food than when it's just lubricating your mouth. So maybe while you're eating it, there's some sort of chemical change. But I swear to God, some people's mouths smell very salmony after they've eaten. So I could be able to tell, even if you brushed your teeth, I would be able to tell you whether you'd eaten recently, if you're one of those people, but not all people have it. And I don't know why. So some people's mouths are doing something after they eat. Some people's saliva serves a function to them that doesn't to other people. And I don't know what it is. No, I can tell when a woman's on her period. Do you hate garlic smell on other people? Nah, garlic's fine. It just smells like a plant. Plant smells don't usually distress me at all. Except, except canola oil plant. We call it rapeseed oil plant here, but that flower smells awful. That's a bad plant smell. No. What about popcorn? I think popcorn is a very, very strong smell. You can smell it from very far away. That's it. That's all I have to say about popcorn. It's like, if I was in my house, I'd be able to smell that you were eating it in the street. And this is a problem, especially when you have nausea. On and off throughout my life, when I've had nausea, having a sense of smell like this has been horrendous because somebody will wear too much like aftershave in the street. And they'll be walking in the street and I'll have all my doors and windows closed. I will be so far away from them. And just, I know someone on the street is walking past who's put a little bit too much aftershave because it's giving me a headache and it's making me vomit. Like, when I have nausea, it's so easily triggered, and, like, I'm sensitive to everything, and everything is just making my, like, any smell of food will give me room spin. Like, I can't have anyone cook anything in the same house as me if I'm nauseous. Nothing. Like, it just fucks me up. Car exhausts. Ugh. What about stinky feet? Funnily enough, like, I feel like men tend to have more stinky feet than women. Like, men's feet smell so much worse than women's feet, and I don't think it's a washing thing, because, yeah, maybe some guys wash less or whatever, but some guys, I think they just sweat more from their feet, and the sweat is just chemically different. Supplies! Thanks for the 10 gifties! Thank you. That's awesome. But yeah, like, I think, when it comes to sense of smell, men have sweatier feet than women. My feet just generally don't sweat. Like, they don't really get moist. I don't leave, like, a moist footprint if I wear socks. Um, my shoes never smell. My feet are just completely dry all the time. I don't know why. It's probably a design flaw. Maybe I just don't have enough circulation to my feet, but my feet just don't have a smell to them. They're very papery dry. Yeah, men absolutely sweat more than women, but I don't mind the smell of men's sweat. It's their diet that changes whether it's bad, not how much they've been sweating. So, like, a really sweaty man can actually smell rather nice if they're eating right. If they're healthy and they're eating right, their sweat smells fine. But, like, if you're stressed, it will smell oniony sharp. And if you're sick, certain kinds of illnesses will make it smell peanutty. Which isn't bad, it's just peanutty. And then you have the smell of people who eat too much yogurt, and that's kind of sharp in a really interesting and weird way. It's like sharp but also chalky and just a bit. There's lots of things like that that will make people smell different. Stress. I can smell when something's really made someone nervous. Sometimes it's how I pick up on a lie, because people have a lot of tells for lying, but liars smell bad. They get sharp smell. They get scared. Can you smell a simp? No, simping is behavioral. It is not, but simping might also be biological, if I'm honest. I made a compelling argument for why there might be a biological imperative to simp, but I don't think it's in your smell. I don't think I could. If someone gave me 10 sweaty t-shirts and put them in jars marked 1 to 10 and said, put them in order of simpery, I wouldn't be able to put, like, mega simp at the beginning and, like, I don't know, giga chad at the end. I don't even know what the scale would be. But, like, no, I would not be able to do that scale. But I could put it in order of who's washed their washing machine the most recently. Like, a lot of people don't need. No, you need to wash your washing machine. You need to put it on a rinse cycle where it just cleans itself. And you need to put stuff inside it, like special cleaning stuff inside it that isn't for cleaning the washing machine. I mean, sorry, my brain's flying. So, like, there's stuff you put in it not to clean clothes, but just to clean the machine. And then you put it on an empty cycle where it's just washing itself, it's not washing any clothes. You need to do that monthly or, like, relatively regularly. You can't just be straight up washing your clothes in the same washing machine over and over again and not doing anything about it, because you will smell really bad. You will smell so bad. You will smell so strong. I can smell you from, like, 3 fucking rooms away. I know you were there. Like, there are some people I've known or been friends with where I know they're at my front door before they've rung the doorbell because they don't wash their fucking washing machine. And it smells heavy, and it smells very, very unique, and it smells almost like mold. Maybe it is mold, but, like, it doesn't just smell like a moldy house. It smells like a moldy washing machine. Musky, moldy, and just very, like, I don't know if it's the soaps in it, they just get eaten up by very specific creatures or whatever with very specific byproducts is my theory. Like, but whatever grime is in there, I walk past people, I'm like, you need to wash your washing machine. Yeah, like fermented clothes, I guess. But you don't understand, it's not just your clothes anymore. It'll be on your skin, and it'll be in your hair, and it'll be under your fingernails because you're sleeping in it, because your bed sheets are covered in it. You know? You could take all of your clothes off and you'll still carry the unclean washing machine smell. Do a vinegar wash. Yeah, vinegar in the washing machine is pretty effective for this. And very, very inexpensive. How many times do you recommend to go shower a week? So, I'm gonna let you in on a terrible secret of mine. I wash about 2 to 3 times a week. I have a shower. And, like, I'm very faint. People can't really smell me. And the reason why is because your skin naturally has a way of managing its biome. And if you're overwashing and you're scrubbing yourself with really harsh soaps, you actually disrupt that biome. And so some people who use a lot of soap on their skin are actually germier all over than people who don't. So, like, soap can make you stinkier. I do not really use soap to wash my body with. I'll wash my hands with soap, like antibacterial soap, whenever I like go to the loo or whatever, but I'm not scrubbing my body with soap. And that's why I smell so faint. And, like, I have gotten honest reviews from people, and they're like, "I just don't smell you," or "You smell nice." Those the only 2 things I've ever been told. Also, my deodorant has a bacteria in it that just like, creates a biome under your arm. Like, it just naturally chases away bad bacteria. That's what it does. It doesn't have any aluminum or smells in it usually. It just creates a good ecosystem to prevent smells. Right? And that has been so effective for me, so incredibly effective for me. But there is, like, oil-based dirt. So, like, sometimes I'll use a tiny little bit of my shampoo to, like, wash my armpits with. Sometimes. If I wash my armpits and the smell doesn't go away, I use a little bit of shampoo. But that's because I have a very specific shampoo that you can do that with. I don't think you should do that with just any shampoo. But yeah, like, I think understanding how you get smelly will help you to be less smelly, but I don't think washing alone really solves it, unfortunately. Some people are smelly because they just don't wash, but that doesn't mean the more you wash, the less smelly you'll become. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. If you brush your teeth like once an hour, you're not going to have any teeth. It will destroy your teeth, right? They won't get cleaner, they'll just get more fucked. Yeah. So, like, there is that kind of limit when it comes to washing too. Also, I will say I am less active than the average person. And if I go and do a workout, I'll wash straight after. But, like, in my day-to-day, I don't get sweaty gaming. I don't get sweaty just pottering around my house looking after houseplants and stuff. What's that deodorant called? I want it. It's actually really good for the environment. So yeah, I'll plug that. It's called the one I'm currently on is Fussy, but there are lots of different kinds. So they come in they're really eco-friendly, but that's just a perk. They come in a recyclable deodorant caddy that holds it, and you can switch out the little deodorant that you slot in it, and the deodorant is like low packaging and everything, and it's just in cardboard, so you throw away several times less plastic using these because you don't have to throw out the whole deodorant thing. You just get refills from it. So, like, I think the initial purchase is probably a bit more than you're used to paying for a deodorant, but then every subsequent deodorant that you buy in the future is going to be really fucking dirt cheap. So it works out financially because you're not buying a whole new deodorant every time. But it basically just maintains your healthy biome, because the problem is a lot of dick, a lot of fuck, a lot of deodorants have aluminium in them, and aluminium exposure has been linked to a bunch of nasty conditions that are really life altering. I think one of them is Parkinson's, isn't it? I could swear there was a link between Parkinson's disease and aluminium. Let me double check that. Let me fact check that for you before I just accidentally give you bullshit. Is aluminium linked to Parkinson's? Yes. The short answer is yes. It causes brain cell damage, oxidative stress, and changes linked to Parkinsonism. So, like, and is that the reason why people get Parkinson's more often near golf courses? What is the illness that you get when you live next to a golf course? Is the illness you are more likely to get near a golf course? Parkinson's. Yes. Okay, so they are the same one. So if you live near a golf course, you are 126% higher risk of getting Parkinson's disease. Because of the shit they spray the golf courses with to keep them all green and shit. So why do I bring up aluminium? Specifically because it's in a lot of antiperspirants. So antiperspirants are different from deodorants. Deodorants are just like deodorant. So they just paste odor over your odor. They're basically like, you know, when you spray Lynx all over yourself instead of having a shower and people taste the alcohol in the air in a noxious cloud around you, but are less likely to be able to smell the BO beneath. Yeah, so that's a deodorant. An antiperspirant is something that stops you from being able to sweat. It reduces the sweat. And usually an antiperspirant has aluminium in it as the antiperspirant. That's how they stop you sweating. So you're taking this porous area and you're applying aluminium directly to your pits. And I think that was what scared me off. I was like, fuck that. I do not want to put aluminium on my pits. I do not want aluminium exposure. I'm very concerned about aluminium exposure. Yeah, no aluminium for me. So that was my reason for wanting something like Fussy. But if you want to save the planet, Fussy's a good option as well. Fuzzy, Fussy. Fussy. And they have some nice smells. But it's also why, like, I won't use aluminium to, like, package my sandwiches or anything like that. If I go on a picnic, I don't put things in aluminium. Yeah, we had an eclipse too. It didn't get very dark. It got slightly dimmer though. And yeah, everyone was watching. It was really cool. Can Pete even sweat? No, rabbits can't sweat. With the skies clear for you? Well, most of the UK is in a drought right now. We barely have any cloud cover, so I feel like everyone in the UK most likely got a really clear view of the eclipse today. Because we haven't had a drop of rain or any clouds for a long time. We've had 5 consecutive heat waves. Cosmic Muppet, thanks for the sub, sweetheart. I really appreciate it. Oh, and did I thank you, Supplies? I really appreciate the 10 gifties, by the way. Thank you. Wasn't last year a really bad drought too? Yes, it's going to lead to a bunch of flooding because when a drought happens, it bakes the earth and the earth becomes non-porous. You'd think it would get thirstier and it'd be like, please, and that if you gave it a drop of water, it'd just go and it would just drink it all up in an instant. But no, what happens is it hardens and then it doesn't absorb anything. It gets baked into a very unporous, unsucky kind of substance. And what this means is that we're going to get a bunch of floods. Every year there's been floods where you go on the train and for miles you just see water and it looks like you're in a train on a lake. And it was all just like open farmland before, right? But it's our own fault. We did this to ourselves because we used to be a massive bog, essentially. We used to have loads of wetlands. For thousands of years, the UK was a rainy wetland. And the tribespeople who lived here would create houses on stilts and they would put like these wood slats on the mud to get by because the water in the marshland was inhospitable and you couldn't really track around it. So they had to make elevated little paths on floating bits of wood and things like this. to get by. And then when the Romans came, and then when farming really took over here, we started draining it all and changing it all, and we never stopped. And we changed the whole landscape away from what it was naturally meant to be. So that would have held trillions upon trillions of gallons of water, and now we can't. And it has nowhere to really go. And what we do with farms is we like carve these channels around the fields for the water to drain in, but that doesn't really, it's not really sufficient for the level of rain we get. So we're going to get a bunch of flooding again, and a bunch of houses that are in floodlanes are going to suffer. Every year they make more and more ornate ways to try and protect their homes, but every year the flooding seems to get worse. Oh, this is a cool bit of lore I never heard of. Yeah, so basically our entire culture was erased. For tens of thousands of years, we were naked, covered in blue tattoos. And the word England comes from the fact that we were covered in blue tattoos. Because the ancient Romans called us the Pretiny people, which means the painted people, because of our tattoos, which became Brittany, which became Britain. So we would not have been called Britain if some ancient tattoo artist hadn't made blue tattoos trending. Right? If they hadn't achieved that, fuck knows what we'd have been called. I reckon we'd have been called Oi Oi Land. I reckon that would be our name. Maybe that's why it's called Ireland. Maybe it would have been called Beerland. Bruvland. I like that, would have been Bruvland. But anyway, yeah, so we were naked people. Both the men and women had ancestral swords that we would carry around our waist. And we were covered in paintings. Apparently we had stars and suns on our titties. The women were walking around topless with stars and suns tattooed on their titties, and wolves tattooed on their shoulders, and long patterns all over their arms and legs. We looked pretty fucking cool. And we had a bunch of ways that were suited to the land that were completely erased, and we forgot them all, and we just didn't know how to manage for a while. And then we transformed all of the land into farmland, and we built over every single, well, nearly every single ancient worship site and history site. Most of our history was completely deleted. And a lot of our ancient, like, what they called buildings and stuff, were broken down for the stone and made into churches. So, like, the church is really recent, but I know that lots of people consider, like, Christianity and Catholicism to be, like, British culture, like, the religion of our culture. And I don't. I kind of feel like they invaded, but they're not our original culture. I kind of feel like they're a new addition that invaders brought in. But I don't think I would consider that British culture, because it was imported. It didn't originate here. It's so cool how much history you have in that area. Well, I feel like most places have that much history going back that far. Like, a lot of Americans will say that to me, like, wow, my country only has like a couple of 100 years of history, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. It has many, many thousands of years worth of history. I hate to break it to you. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I went to an ancient Neolithic stone circle north of Stonehenge. It was insane. Yeah, to think that Stonehenge, the site itself is around 12,000 years old. I think the stones that have been erected there are around 5,000 years old or something, but the site was used continuously for at least 12,000 years before that. It's just that the henge would have been wooden before that because people have done like LiDAR and stuff and discovered that there are pits, and they dug those to understand what those indents were, and they're like, oh, there used to be a wood henge here before the stone henge, and the wood henge was used for like a long time before that. But, like, there's loads of mysteries about it. Like, one of the Stonehenge stones, did you know, came all the way from Scotland? Which is crazy when you think about it because they had to have dragged that stone from the top of the country to nearly the bottom. And that transit would have been incredibly fucking difficult. And it would have happened at a time where we don't think they had boats or anything. So it would have had, like, the main theory as to how we made Stonehenge back then as, like, cavemen, essentially, was rolling these on logs, like putting logs and rolling the stones along them, and even that is really tricky because it's so fucking heavy that even that would be near impossible. People have tried to replicate it and they find it really hard. On flat land, for short distances, and this stone came from Scotland. So it would have taken years of dragging across crazy wetland and forests. And people are like, how? People would struggle to do that now. That is insane. Why? Why not just get a more local fucking stone than this? One of the stones. It's just one, by the way. One of the stones in Stonehenge is all the way from Scotland. For no reason. Like, we just have no clue why they just made Stonehenge so fucking difficult. What's so different about that stone compared to the others? So I've been to Stonehenge, and I could not have told you that one of those stones came from somewhere else. I think they found it out really recently by testing what it's made of, and they've traced it back to where it comes from. But like aesthetically, it looks the same as the rest. So it's not for aesthetic reasons. Whatever the fuck it was, not for aesthetic reasons. Who the fuck knows why? Why it had significance to them? No idea. With radioactive dating? No, I don't think it was with radioactive dating, because I don't think you can date stone like that, if I'm correct. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think you can do radiocarbon dating with stone. I think it's like stone is formed in very specific ways. So some are formed by volcanic eruptions. Some are formed by sedimentary layers. You know, the whole igneous, sedimentary, and what's the other one? There are like several different kinds of rock anyway, and they form different ways. So you can find, like, based on the crystals and the, like, when you really look close, you can tell the story of how this rock was formed and what it's made of. And like those types of rocks are not formed in certain areas and are formed in others, and also incorporate like regional evidence as well of what they are. So there might be like regional fossils that don't occur anywhere else and things like this, you know? Metamorphic, thank you. So like these are we can trace a stone. We can trace a stone story, how it was made, when it was made, how old it is, all that stuff. It's etched into the stone itself. This is bloody interesting, not gonna lie. So this is the kind of stuff I learned in home education, by the way. So people call home education trickle-down stupidity because a lot of the time it's religious people wanting to make sure that their kids don't hear any other alternative explanation for the world, right? So, but then I would say my home education was like just because I was not diagnosed with Tourette's and my parents traveled around a lot as well, and I was passed between them, so it wasn't easy to give me a stable education. So I ended up just staying home and playing a lot of computer games and watching TV. But my mom was doing a science degree. So from the ages of like 7 to like 15, I want to say, I was around a lot of scientists, and the only books with any factual information were science books. So I read a lot about geology. I read about a lot about environmental science. I read a lot about forests, volcanoes, and all sorts of things around the world, and so I learned a little bit about, like, rock formations and stuff, but, like, also, for some reason, just a lot of the books my mom collected were about things like Stonehenge. She actually painted so I have a bottle behind me. My mom's dead now, she passed away last year, and, like, I have loads of painted bottles that she painted. Like, this one is a bottle she painted years ago. Oh, and it actually has Stonehenge on it. Ha! What a good example. So she was just kind of obsessed with Stonehenge. Can you see the Stonehenge on the bottom in gold? What a good example. So there's like a few more behind me, and some of them also have Stonehenge on them. But like, she has a fuck ton of books. I actually found several books on Stonehenge. She also had like 5 million different copies of Watership Down. Like, she had so many copies. Thank you, Ants. I appreciate it. Was Stonehenge created to send sound waves into space? I don't know where I heard that. Probably not, in my opinion, right? I do think that, like, a lot of the crazier theories about Stonehenge don't really suit me personally, and I'm gonna lay it out there for you guys. Like, my first question with Stonehenge, like, people like, was it built by aliens? Bitch, no. It wasn't built by aliens, and I think if an advanced species made a really advanced building, they would not build, like, a roughly hewn stone circle, right? I mean, we're not even capable of space travel, and we make more complex buildings than that. I'm not gonna lie, that does seem like a really weird conclusion to jump to. It's an old sundial, no? Well, it does document the longest and the shortest day of the year. So the summer and winter equinox? It, like, logs those. And that's a really common thing with, like, Neolithic structures and, like, historic pre-Christian structures in the UK. Most of them do seem to line up with the solstice really accurately, to the point where one of the oldest barrows in the UK is, I think, in Ireland. It's really beautiful, and it's thousands upon thousands of years old. I think it's like the oldest thing in the UK. And one day of the year, it completely illuminates. It's a massive tunnel complex, and it completely illuminates completely naturally. Like, it makes all the light bounce back and forward, and like all the way along all of the tunnels, which are pitch black on a normal day, it just lines up for a few minutes. It's really cool. So, for as long as we have been making buildings, we have been lining them up with the longest and shortest day of the year for some reason. Like, that has been insanely important to us. That's so cool. Cool as fuck, actually. Yeah, and it's expected to be kind of technically the origins of Christmas being celebrated when it is, because they transformed the winter solstice into Christmas. So a lot of pagan beliefs all across Europe celebrated the longest night of the year. The shortest day and the longest night of the year. That is the winter solstice. Because, like, it was absorbed into Christianity to make the transition easier. So technically, even though it celebrates the birth of Christ now, in Christianity, he wasn't really born around that time, but it's when he's celebrated, because there was already a celebration at that time, and the Christians wanted to transition people from their pagan beliefs to the Christian ones. They made to make that an easy transition. And the thing with the winter solstice is, as far as we know, we strongly suspect that it was just a mega drug and alcohol-based orgy with some ritual sacrifice. And that might be exaggerated, but that's our current understanding of what solstice was to a lot of pagan religions. So paganism isn't a religion, it's many religions broken up. And some of those religions, they all differed, but they tended to, in many countries, unify on let's get fucked up and have lots of sex. in solstice. And so I'm not surprised that when the Christians were like, hey, it's time to move on to our religion now and do some more sane and gentle and more godly things, that was a celebration that they kind of like glazed over, changed, and made a little bit more tame. Because I'm pretty sure people were really attached to it, and it was something that they really looked forward to. But there wasn't. But they did keep like, so this is why we have holly and a Christmas tree at Christmas. Those are pagan things. Decorating everything with holly branches and holly berries, that's pagan. Feasting, pagan. The feast, the decorations, the tree, yeah, you got the pagans to thank for that. The wreaths, yes, exactly. So you're keeping alive a tradition that is thousands of years old. And a big part of that very likely took place at Stonehenge, because Stonehenge wasn't built like within a settlement, as far as we can tell. You had to go out to it, you had to walk to it. So it was considered like, we look at it and we think at present that people made like a pilgrimage from up and down to there at solstice, because the stones line up with the longest and shortest day, and light rises and sets through specific stones and only lines up with them on the longest and shortest day of the year. So from that, we've kind of gathered. Also, there's lots of ash around the stones that suggests that things were burned at the site ceremoniously at regular intervals. So people think that, people got drunk, they maybe ate magic mushrooms, they partied, they danced, they traveled all that way out to celebrate the shortest and longest day of the year, and they probably burned something to death. Negative lottery draw, maybe? I don't know how they chose, and we'll never know, because a lot of their history has just been completely erased. Which I'm kind of sad about. I mean, I don't go to parties and take drinks and drink and have a lot of sex or burn people to death. And I'm kind of glad that we don't burn people to death every solstice now, personally. However, I wish that enough was saved of the culture that we knew why. That we knew the stories and the folklore behind it. There are no deities carved into any of those stones. We don't even know if it was in worship of anything, or if it was just a completely like non-religious ceremony. Was it a social thing? Was there beliefs? Was there folklore? Was there a myth? Was there a story? Does the Scottish stone mean anything? Those poor sacrifices. Yeah, there's been a lot of sacrifice with humans for a very, very long time, just for lots of different reasons. You can't really pin it down to one specific religion or just religion in and of itself, because even non religious humans have been known historically to eat each other in the idea that you can transfer the knowledge and power of a person by consuming them. And that's a really common conclusion that people come to, even without cross-cultural contamination. Like, many humans in isolation will come to the idea that if you eat something, you absorb its power. And so that's a form of sacrifice. Just sacrificing something to gain a skill tree. So like, human sacrifice for many different reasons has always occurred. Like, it would be really common to eat babies as well. Like, historically, small children have been eaten just as part of our diet, not even just for like practices or like cultural things. Like, we found caves where people were regularly eating human babies for thousands of years, around Neanderthal times. Also, many religions go through a phase of human sacrifice even if they don't continue it now. So, like, a lot of the more prominent religions now historically used to do human sacrifices of some sort in their earlier stages. I know this about Christianity because of what happened to the people who lived in the Caribbean islands. So, the native people, the Taino people, were strung up and hung upside down and burned to death in rows of 9 because they were being sacrificed to the 9 apostles that were Christian apostles. So, like, there were Christian human sacrifices happening during colonial times. So I don't blame specific religions. I believe, like, it's just a weird conclusion that humans come to at some point or another that human sacrifice is a good idea. It's just a weird trait of ours. And even if it falls out of fashion, it comes back in fashion out of the blue, which I find really, really strange. Just like one of these fundamental urges we keep doing on repeat and reinventing over and over. It never fully leaves us. Are you completely healed from surgery? No, well, kinda. I still am in pain, so I can't lay on my stomach. It hurts. But like the stitches I have all fell out last night. The last of my stitches are gone last night. They're like dissolvable ones. But there's still like a little bit of a scab and there's still a little that but most of them are red bumps now, just healing. So I'm healing just fine. It's making progress. I did my first workout last night as well. So, since I got my surgery. Also, I think burning witches would count as Christian sacrifice as well. So a lot of people don't really some people know that the Christians sacrificed human beings. Yeah, like that would count as a human sacrifice, and they were burning them to death too, so they weren't really that different from the pagans. They probably burned more people to death more frequently, to be honest with you, because the pagans seem to have only been doing it once a year or twice a year. I kind of feel like it's weird that we keep doing it, but I can't explain why we do. Like cannibalism keeps making a resurgence, human sacrifice makes resurgences. War seems like a very, very easy thing to put behind us, but keeps happening as well. Like, I don't think war is entirely necessary. It'd be cool if we could just make another system for settling these kinds of things that didn't cost life. Like, what if we only got like chess champions? Like, you could only be voted in to be in charge of a country if you had like a certain level of elo in chess. I don't know what it is in chess. You know what I mean by elo? But like, you had to, and so that if there was ever a disagreement over land or anything, you could just play the other leader at chess, and whoever won the chess battle settled it. And that would be like a last resort. Like, that'd be our version of nukes. It's like, oh damn, we're breaking out the chess pieces. Serious now. It'd be like a really rare thing. And if there had to be violence, can't we just oil them up and throw them in a ring and they just have to fight each other and the rest of us watch? Like, didn't they already just put a fighting ring in on the greenhouse lawn? Aren't we like 9 steps towards this already? The greenhouse. My brain ain't working. You know what I mean. I've seen so much sun. The White House. Oh yeah, go ahead and run the dono.
The one thing people also don't
thank you.
realize about being able to hear better than other people, you hear everything. Just having the radio playing and trying to talk with someone can jumble the words, and it sounds like a crowded room where everyone's talking.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think that a lot of people take for granted their dulled senses. A lot of people
I
don't
like to
realize
use
that
cedar wood
the
and
senses you
cardamom,
do
but
have are
that's just my
amazing and you're lucky to have
2 cents.
them, but you're also lucky to have them turned so dim. Like, you should also be grateful for what you don't have. Damn, I waited so long. I read it for so long. Brr. Sorry for talking over it. And I've just seen Severance. Thank you for the joke. Oh my god. Fun fact, dono means something naughty in Icelandic. Are you allowed to hint at what it means? Mods, don't ban her, I need to know. Okay, you have permission to educate us. Oh, it just means something naughty, quotation marks, not something specifically naughty. It's not like a euphemism for anything specific, it just means something naughty. That's kind of funny. Damn, I was expecting a full-on, like Urban Dictionary definition. Also, chat, can you be a doctor for a second? What does it mean if your ankle hurts for over a month? Like, it doesn't hurt so much that I can't walk, but it just kind of feels like I sprained it 2 weeks ago. You know, like, it feels like it's healing from a sprain, but I never sprained it. It just aches and hurts, and whenever I flex my foot, it kind of aches more, but it's not so intolerable that I've, like, gone to a doctor because it's not, like, searing pain or anything. I can function, so it doesn't seem like an emergency or anything, but I like, my ankle started feeling weird and, like, aching a week before my surgery, and I think it's been, like, a month now since I had a surgery, and it still hurts. Is it a dull pain? Yeah, it's a dull pain. And it's swollen a little bit. It's swollen in a line just above my heel. Between my heel and my calf, it's swollen, but it's not red, and it just aches when I point my toes down. Like, if I angle my foot down, if I do this with my foot, say this is my foot, if I do this, it tugs and it hurts, and it's swollen just here. On your Achilles tendon? Yeah, but it's kind of, like, slightly to the left of my Achilles tendon. On the outside. No, slightly to the right of my Achilles. Slightly to the right of my Achilles on my right side. So it might be my tendon. Could be a micro tear. That's so weird because I was just walking in my kitchen and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden it just hurt. Like, I just walked through my kitchen, sat down, and it hurt. Do you know how many people just get injured carrying groceries? I think I just got old and just got, like, my brain just, like, my leg just broke itself just walking through my kitchen? Do you run often? No. I don't do high impact stuff because my boobs. Like, I would knock myself out if I was regularly running. Do you go for walks? I should, but I don't. I've been very sedentary lately. Sports bra? I would need to wear like 2 or 3 sports bras to hold these down because they're very big. And in that circumstance, like, it restricts how much you can breathe in. Like, if you wear sports bras over each other, you can't take a full breath. You could go, you can't go, like, it just cuts off your breath midway. So it makes running completely pointless because you can't hold them down. You know what I mean? And it hurts. Having titties bounce around, it tugs the top of your, like, the surface area of your skin on the top. Goes tongue, 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 and it hurts. It stretches and it feels really, like, it feels like someone's got their claws in your skin here and they're just yanking down, down, down. It hurts. Yeah, so it's not fun to run with big boobies. I think I might take up running maybe if I got a boob reduction, which I probably will when I'm older. My rule is once they start pointing down, it's time. So you gonna go to the doctor then? I mean, I wasn't gonna. Like, the thing I'm scared of is that the doctors will think that I'm attention seeking and that they'll just send me away and not listen to me, because that's what happened to me when I tried to ask what my Tourette's was when I was a kid. Now it just makes me really reluctant and feel really guilty and ashamed to go to the doctor because I think that they're just sat there looking at me thinking, you made this up so that I would just speak to you, didn't you, you stupid child? So, like, I always feel like I have to prove I'm not lying, and I hate it. And the fact that this is so mild that, like, I can walk on it still. Like, I don't even think about it. It's like background pain, you know? And so I feel like I don't wanna have to go through being accused of being a liar and being gaslit and being told to go home and make myself a cup of tea when something's wrong. So, like, and I feel like I don't wanna waste my time, and I that's what I feel like. I feel like going to the doctor it's like going to the police. They don't listen, they don't do anything about it, and they try to make you feel crazy. If it's tendinitis, better treat it now. What do you do about tendinitis, though? Tendinitis needs rest? I just had surgery. I've been lying watching the fucking Avatar endlessly, crying about wanting to come back to streaming. How much rest do I fucking need? As soon as this acted up, like literally the next week, I was just laying in bed for weeks, not moving, and it did diddly fucking squat. Hey, therapist. Yeah, the surgery went really well, thank you. You watched the new Avatar movie? Yeah, the one with the fire? It was good. Would recommend. Has some cheesy bits in it, but always good. Boobs! Voice actor but was a bit weird, but yes. Oh wait, are we talking about the right Avatar? Because there's two. There's one with the aliens, and there's one with the animated people who can bend shit. I watched the one with the aliens. I haven't seen the benders. Wait, no, I saw both. Both were good. Anime or cinema? Both. Both are good. I'll take both. Bitch, I watch anime at the cinema. Heatwave El Nino sucked us dry. Yeah, isn't that meant to be worse next year? Fun. It's a common symptom of pregnancy. Unless I am giving birth to the next Messiah, I don't think that's what happened. Maybe the doctor will say you're pregnant. They better not, because the last time I was alone with a man was in the surgery room. Well, with my pants off anyway. The pain was before the surgery, though. Yeah, exactly. So the pregnancy, if I turn out to be pregnant, that's a whole new set of problems, but it's not related to the ankle. But you do sound very much like a doctor now, because it's like, it could be in your head. It's not in your head. You could be pregnant. Are you pregnant? Well, we can't treat you till we know you're pregnant. You're not pregnant, are you? What if you're planning to get pregnant? Sorry, we can't treat you because you could get pregnant. We can't treat you because your future husband that you don't have yet might want you to get pregnant, and therefore these life-saving drugs will just have to be saved for someone more worthy. Goodbye. Are you a night or a morning person? I'm a night person. I've been struggling and trying to be a daytime person, and it's not working. And I'm now awake at 5:30 a.m. again, and I'm like, fuck, how did this happen? I think I have like a delayed sleep schedule where I start to fall asleep every 26 hours or something, which means that my body clock, like I become a day person eventually, and then I'm a night person again, and then I'm a day person again, and I slowly shift by a couple of hours when I go to bed. And so technically I'm kind of both, but I mostly am most productive and comfortable at night. Nocturnalism. Well, they say so. They put a guy in isolation where he couldn't tell. They did an experiment on him when they couldn't tell whether it was day or night, and it completely fucked him up. But one of the things that ended up happening was he ended up being on a Mars day scale instead of an Earth day scale. So he was sleeping, I can't remember how many hours, but like the average day of Mars. He just naturally fell into that instead of like Earth's day cycle. And they say that I swear they say that happens to every human. If you can't tell whether it's day or night, your waking day extends. What kind of eclipse was it? It was the sun and the moon. They did a little, you know? Maybe we're all descendants of Martians, and now as a byproduct of our ancestors destroying, similar to what humanity is doing with the Earth. I mean, maybe. You never know. Would be so suspicious. if that was the case. Because, like, why would we share, like, 90-something% of our DNA with a banana and, like, every other creature on the planet? Do you know how genetically similar we are to a fruit fly? It's very fucking similar, right? So the idea that we just randomly were extrapolated from another planet, but all the others weren't, that sounds stupid. But then the other explanation is that all the creatures on Earth, except like 2, which are anomalously very different from everything else genetically, were all imports from Mars, a dying planet that is far more distant from the sun. I don't know. None of that really sounds right. You know how that thing where it's like the simplest explanation is usually the answer. Maybe we are genetically similar to everything on Earth because we came from Earth. Maybe there's like a multi-million-year-old chain of different hominids that slowly become more and more erect until they become us. Who knows? And like at the end, the reason why we are sat at the end with our massive brains and our tall back spines and our narrow hips is because like you go back and we didn't come from Mars. We came from like a tiny little mammal that looked a bit like a rat millions upon millions of years ago. There are theories that life started because of panspermia. Yeah, and I know we live in, like, a patriarchal society because that could have very easily been called, like, pansegmia, you know? Like, or, like, any other combination of the words, because, like, wouldn't that make Earth an egg? And the egg is getting pummeled by many different kinds of, material, but it picked very narrow, slim ones to take its genetic pool from. So it does kind of key to the egg as well. But at the same time, I think that that would be more likely, you know, the tardigrades. If I were to gonna guess which creature came from space and seeded life, I wouldn't think humans on asteroids broken off from Mars. I would think tardigrades because they are extremophiles and you can send them into space, they turn into glass, and they can re-enter and they can survive the heat of re-entry and reanimate. They can go into stasis and they're found on everything, everywhere. They're found in droplets of water. They're found on every surface. They're probably on your skin right now. They're just everywhere, these little tardigrades, and they're extremophiles. They can exist anywhere in the depths of the ocean, under high pressure, you know, in severe heat and cold, in the vacuum of space. I mean, they're not technically alive when they're in the vacuum of space, but they become alive again once they exit the vacuum of space. So I wonder if every time we've had like a world-ending asteroid that completely erases and does the redo button, like delete save, start from menu, right? That if anything were to be launched into our atmosphere, it would probably re-enter a long time after that kind of impact. Maybe even when the solar system, maybe when we do our re-entry, we go through an asteroid belt of stuff that broke off of our own planet. And like you do that like several cycles, many years later, and some of that re-enters and comes down as asteroids long in the future when everything's settled and like Earth is habitable again, would be my idea of like how panspermia probably most likely happened if it did at all. And it probably happened with microorganisms long before the mud skippers and the reptiles and the mammals and all that stuff, right? I don't think that panspermia is like a dinosaur riding an asteroid to Earth from God knows where else. I think that would be like microbial life, like a sourdough starter. And more likely than not, I'm guessing that panspermia in most cases is probably just our own us refeeding on our own yeast. You know, getting a little sprinkle of our own tardigrades and other extremophiles from a time from many years past, you know? What if tardigrades could evolve into something like humans? I don't know. I think that if tardigrades evolved, they wouldn't become more and more superior to the point where they reached us. I think that we're not very superior animals. We're dumb, fragile, and survive purely off collaboration, and we're very, very bad at collaboration, right? Our key survival aspect that made us so successful, we're actually very, very bad at. We made nukes. Like, we're terrible at our only reason for being alive this long. So when I imagine tardigrades getting more and more superior, I don't imagine them becoming more and more like us. I think the amount of limbs they have and the digestive system they have and their ability to survive in extreme circumstances would be enhanced if they were more collaborative and social and they did like, they started building things and they're capable of that. They have the ability to they have the essentially better than thumbs. So I don't think they would become more like us at all. Maybe more social, but I don't think they'd become more human-like at all. I don't think that we're surviving as a species. I don't think we're superior. I think we are broken and we are killing ourselves. Okay, we're going extinct. And we're causing our own extinction. Many creatures cause their own extinction. They evolve into a bottleneck. They become so superior at a specific thing that makes them suited to a specific time and place. And then the time and place changes and they're fucked because they can't adapt fast enough, is one of the many reasons you might go extinct. Sometimes you go extinct because you can't mate enough to keep up with how quickly you're dying, things like this. We have so many of those problems, going on for us. We don't have a specific diet that's good for us anymore. Whatever original diet our digestive system was tailored to, it's extinct. A lot of the berries, animals, just all the stuff that we were consuming and used and had is gone. There is no right human diet anymore, for example. There's a lot wrong with us. So when I imagine an animal evolving and becoming the next coolest species, I don't imagine them becoming like us at all, because we're tremendously short-lived. We're probably going to die in the next 100 years or so, and we've been around for a tiny percentage of time. When you look at horseshoe crabs are more perfect than us. Horseshoe crabs are better designed for this planet than us and lived for millions of years. We're going to be lucky to have survived a few 100,000. That is a very short-lived species. That doesn't scream superiority to me. It just doesn't. They're superior at their own niche. I mean, not everyone, but yeah, some are superior at their own niche. Also, some are just jack of all trades, like rats. Rats are everywhere. They are highly social. It's one of the reasons they're so successful, by the way. Rats are very, very successful for the same reasons that we are. But they're not making themselves extinct, and they've lasted longer than us. Rats are evolutionarily superior to us. Tweety this! Thank you so much! Many species kill each other. Yeah. But somehow don't make themselves extinct. We are at risk of extinction. Oh, thanks again, sweetheart. I think we're so evolved that we devolved. We are overly complicated and need artificial shit. Well, I would say there's lots of aspects of that. I think that, so part of it is that when you create a society where females can't choose their mates, it degrades the entire genetic, like, viability of that entire society, because we are a society where so we had many societies where women didn't choose who they married, didn't choose who they reproduced with, and it was very difficult for them to walk away from somebody once they were married to them. So they were quite often locked into involuntary situations. Also, if you have arranged marriages or marriages where you're forced to meet the person that you're going to marry on your wedding day, and you're being forced to marry relatives as well, all of those things will degrade your genetic viability and encourage like things that aren't good for your children, essentially. Like, your children's health will degrade generation upon generation because of that behavior, right? So what needs to happen is the woman needs to choose the male, and they need to be as selective as possible for each new generation to be as well suited to their environment as possible, to be physically healthy and disease resistant. So you will get more disease, you will get more defects, you will get more deaths if the woman doesn't choose her mate, and if she doesn't have really high standards. Like, that is how we have peacocks. Peacocks look beautiful because of that exact mechanism. We see that there is all good and no downside to women being the choosers at the end of the day, because generally in our species, men tend to be able to be less fussy about it and to be a bit more polyamorous about it, with fewer downsides than if a woman tries to do the same thing, because, you know, it costs more to reproduce for a woman. So it makes sense that if the men are more likely to sleep with many partners, or more likely to have lower standards, that the women will have to have really high standards for the next generation to be healthy. So things like sexual violence and arranged marriages and things like this, and oppression of women's right to choose, basically downgrades and makes every generation more vulnerable to make things that just generally make them less suited to the world and less suited to survival. And I think there's a bit of that, but also healthcare means that people with really bad problems that would kill them in the wild live long, happy lives, have kids to pass those genes on to. And it's like, this means that with the advent of medication and medical intervention, you're going to have a lot more people born with illnesses that they wouldn't have been 1,000 years ago, because those people would have never survived to pass that on. Even just basic things like dentistry. If your teeth were fucked up and they got infections and stuff, or they grew in a way that made it hard to eat, or just made you unattractive, you were far less able to pass down messed up teeth. And so, like, now, plenty of people need to go through years of dentistry before adulthood. That is not something you would have seen as commonly in the past. And, like, anecdotally, this isn't science, but if you look at the teeth of ancient people, yeah, you see people with gingivitis and rot and stuff, but you see a lot of fucking pristine teeth. You see people whose teeth have been sat in the mud for 1,000 years, and they've got better teeth than me. Like, they got better teeth than this. For thousands of years in the mud. Even death and weathering and decay after death didn't take their teeth out. So women being in an unhappy marriage could lead to the destruction of a bloodline? Yes. Absolutely. So for example, if you take away a woman's right to choose a partner, and you can do that by just taking away her right to work, or taking away her access to childcare. Both will do that pretty quickly. So if she needs to turn to a man for finances to survive, rather than for romantic and attraction reasons, then she's not weighing up how attracted to this person she is on a physical level anymore. There's no genetic reason. There's no, I want to have this person's babies. My babies will be strong and healthy instincts anymore. It's just, I need a life raft. The world has taken all the resources away from me. The only way I'll ever have the resources I need to survive is if I shack up with someone. And so if you're forced to marry for financial reasons, because you're not allowed any finances of your own, then in that situation, your kids are going to have a weaker standpoint, because women have a built-in ability to smell when someone's genetics will be compatible with them. So it's not about superior or inferior genetics. It's more like jigsaw puzzles. Some pieces just fit better with yours. So, like, there's this, like, red pill idea that a Giga Chad with a full beard and big muscles has good genes, and a skinny little guy who looks kind of big nose and glasses or whatever has inferior genes, and he's like a silly little rat who shouldn't breed. Like, that's bullshit. That is macho bullshit. That's not how genetics works, right? The truth of the matter is that when you have your genetic makeup, the more varied from you the other person's genes are, the more healthy your kids will be. That's it. It's not about how superior, how good or bad. It's usually about how different from yours they are. The more of a mix of genetics you give your child, the more disease resistant and healthy they'll be. And so women have an ability based in their smell where they can smell how genetically compatible with a man will be. And we've tested this, we've proven it. You can go look at the experiments, they're fascinating. I quote it all the time on my stream, right? But I'll skip past it. And I'll say, like, if you take away a woman's ability to breed for attraction, to find someone hot and get with them because she likes the smell of them, she likes the look of them, she likes their personality, and she thinks they'll be good at raising kids, right? They show a lot of responsible traits. If you take away all of that and go, you can't have money, you can't have rights, you can't vote, you can't have a bank account, you can't go to work. If you do go to work, you will be paid less. If you do go to work, we're not going to give you childcare. You are going to be the primary carer for any kid you have. So good luck trying to work and looking after your kid. Like, if you throw loads of hurdles like that at a woman, it reduces her chances of being able to find a mate who, based on the usual channels that, like, a prehistoric woman would be able to. And if you take out that selective process, it will make us more vulnerable generationally to disease. It will mean that women are making choices outside of just, reproductive decisions when it's choosing a mate. And that's, like, misfortunate. But then you add on top of that we extend the life of people who are ill. And I'm not arguing against it, but it just does mean that people like me who have lots of illnesses, I'm more likely to be able to pass them on, because all of these illnesses that I have should have killed me when I was a child. Absolutely. I can't swallow things properly. I choke on food all the time. I think that's one of the prominent ones. But I also have, like, poor circulation. I get really cold really easily. And, like, my fingers will go blue over nothing. And in the wild, that would have killed me very young. In a world with central heating, I can live to be, like, 36. Like, I could technically have a kid now. And I could have multiple kids now. I could have quite a few kids. And so I think all of these things mean that staying alive as a human gets more and more complicated because you're not consistently being refined to have an advantage in your environment the same way that a wild animal would. We're not wild animals anymore. We are very, very domesticated. And another part of that is, we just don't do mate selection. Generationally, we haven't done mate selection the same way for a long, long time that typical animals would. And we haven't done, we've had the mercy of medicine for thousands of years. Neanderthals had medicine. Thankfully, this isn't Sparta. Yeah, I agree. And I do think that there is much more that you can contribute to the world than just your genetics. I am grateful that people with illnesses are still born. I think it's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or that we should stop it, to be honest with you. Because on the one hand, like, someone might be a little bit sickly and less suited to life on planet Earth, but they can still contribute more to our species than somebody who's just physically fit. There is more to contributing to the world than just being physically fit. But it does complicate our survival. It means our way of surviving is just not going to be as basic as the way that animals do. And it's going to take a lot more consistent stability and resources than an animal would require. Which puts us in a fragile position evolutionarily, because we could be very easily wiped out for this reason. Trowby, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. And thanks for the resub, by the way, Tweety. But yeah, my overview is, like, somebody who has a lot of disabilities and illnesses could contribute more human life to our species than someone who's physically fit if they, say, found a cure for a rare type of cancer. Then they're responsible for, like, several million lives over the course of human history, compared to the person who just had, like, one kid or had 2 or 3 kids. Even if they had 10 kids, they wouldn't have contributed more human life than the person who contributed no human life except their medical discovery. So there are ways to benefit our species that aren't linear and aren't based just purely in reproduction at all. Like, you could have no babies at all and still have contributed more human life than somebody who had. And that doesn't mean that having kids means that you've done something small. It's huge and it's very impactful for our species. I'm just saying, like, it's not the only way to contribute life to our species. It's not the only way to contribute a legacy or a lineage, essentially. So I didn't say all of that to say, like, damn it, we should cancel all medical shit because it's weakening us. Like, I'm not on that. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not suggesting eugenics. But I am saying that, yeah, we've complicated our survival rate. We have. When we are at risk of extinction, I don't believe that the current curve is a result of what I think a final hit the natural limits and are bouncing downwards around the limit and will level out in time if we don't make a big boo-boo. Oh, so you think, like, we've hit the limit of how good we can be, but that's not, like, where we'll settle, and we're gonna bounce down a little bit and settle at our, like, a level rather than the apex. Like, you think we've peaked as humanity and we're gonna, like, level out. Yeah, that's an interesting theory. I think we're all gonna die. I think we're careening towards extinction, personally. I like your theory better, though. I hope you're right. Do you listen to funk? Yes. Whenever I play Marvel Rivals alone off stream, I tend to listen to funk when I play tank, and it helps me play tank better for some reason. Tank is funky. The rest I don't even need music for, but if I play tank, I have to funk about it, otherwise it doesn't work. Also, sometimes some spooky electronic music. I don't know if it's spooky dance or something. I don't know what it's called or what it is. But it's, like, slightly creepy, slightly gothic, but also kinda got a bit of a to it. You know what I mean? Like, if a goth took acid? I don't know, I'm not good with drugs. What's the club drug that people do? So spooky, funky EDM? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It's MDMA? How do you know that? Hmm? Where you been? What you been doing? You're not supposed to know all about that, chat. So many of you just straight up answered so quickly as well. I watched too many police interviews. Okay, that's more sus, though. Like, what are you practicing? What research is that for? Why have you watched so many police interviews? I'm practicing how to hide my Okay, shut up, Peaks. No more talking from you. Can you speak the countryside? Which part of the countryside? The countryside. I think, like, Somerset is the closest amount of countryside I can speak. And you're like, right, my lover, where are you going to? You want to come into my combine harvester? You want some pasties? I'll give you some pasties. The trick to speaking countryside is just act like you've got less teeth. And add a few extra A's. Add a little bit of a whistle to what you say. I swear all pirates came from Cornwall. Because it's almost piratey. Can you do the old rich woman? I don't know. I suppose all you have to do is talk a little bit more refinedly, and then just add a little bit of a croak to it, and then you're starting to sound a little bit more refined and old. I don't know if that's old lady. We're gonna have a charity stream tomorrow. I've been really wanting to, but obviously a lot's gotten in my way because I have been ill. But I would like to. There are actually a lot of charities I would like to raise money for, and I've always fantasized about doing that. But also, aside from the charities, there's also a lady that I have never spoken to. She's very pretty, and she's on my feed a lot because I'm obsessed with rabbits. And she's like a British content creator, and she rehabilitates and takes care of rabbits. But she's not a charity as far as I know. She's just like, she's paying for all of her own back, and she is really knowledgeable, and she makes really good content about like how to take care of rabbits and the do's and don'ts, and also the rescue stories of some of the animals she takes in. And like she just really does a lot for rabbits, and rabbits are just kind of like neglected and they don't get a lot of attention. They don't get a lot of help. They really struggle as a species. I feel like we shouldn't have domesticated them. Most rabbits are worse off for being owned by a human. It's terrible. And I think what she does is hugely impactful, and I'm really amazed with how much she's done and how good she is. And I've seen the way she gives rabbits medicine. I know she's legit. She's not just someone farming money who's just like pretending to take care of rabbits. I've seen her give the rabbits medicine. She knows what the fuck she's doing. That is the test. So I would love to raise some money for her. And there's also a retired police officer down my way who I've never reached out to either, but he's just the most soothing guy ever. Sometimes I tune into him and he's just like gently talking to a little baby hedgehog. He rehabilitates hedgehogs. That's what he's done with his retirement. What a fucking legend. I would love to go see him and just like syringe feed some baby hedgehogs. So, like, yeah, the charities are pretty good, and I'd love to raise some charities. But I'd also, if they'd let me, if they were fine with it, I'd love to just raise money for their fucking PayPals or whatever they got. Like, even if they're not a charity, I think, like, rehabilitators. Rehabilitators are incredible, and I've done rehabilitation. I know how hard it is. I know how difficult it is to stay afloat. I got into a lot of debt doing rehabilitation for many, many years while I was a student. So I know what that's like. And I love to see people who thrive, do it for decades. And some people pay the ultimate price. Like, I know a guy who basically gave himself a death sentence for rehabilitating birds because he got bird fanciers along. Like, some people make the ultimate sacrifices for these animals. You could find a doctor on TikTok who can rehabilitate your ankle on stream for donations. I mean, you've just given me a really fantastic content idea. Can you ask me what the ankle-based content idea is later in the mod? We go into the basement after these streams, me and the mods. We sit and we collude and we talk about who we should ban and what we should do next. We get together like a coven of witches and like and that's like what I do for like an hour or so or less after every stream on my Discord. I knew it. Yeah, we're talking about you, Flo. Yeah, we talk about why I can't ban people most of the time. It's so funny as well. Like, people make assumptions about my bans because, like, it's a big deal to people. People spend a lot of time in my Discord, so, like, people want to be there. And if they get banned, some people get butthurt about it because they've spent, like, 10 years. It's rare that people get banned, but if you get banned after, like, a few years, you've had to do something pretty heinous or, like, really repetitive, right? Repetitively bad or heinous. And, like, it's funny when people look at those bans and the drama that ensues, because either they think that I'm their best friend and I would never, but the evil mods talked shit about them. right? And they would be like this with Anita if it wasn't for the fact that those evil mean mods got jealous of me. And those, for some reason, are usually the ones where I'm like, hey, can we ban that guy? And the mods are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that one over there, please, no more. I can't with him. And then for some reason, others will swear up and down they got banned by someone who did not ban them. Like, people will ban Brandon for ones that other mods did. For some reason, Brandon gets this a lot. Everyone thinks that Brandon did it. If someone they're like, Brandon, and like, Brandon will be like, who? Who did you ban? Like, there's a lot of that. So chances are, if you try to guess which specific mod banned you, they didn't. I don't think anybody ever gets it right. If it happens, it's rare. I've never seen someone actually genuinely guess who banned them. Ever. Unbanned request streams soon. So, do you know what dictates how many ban request streams we do? It's literally just how many bans there are. And it's really weird because sometimes I'll get one that seems really old. I guess it's just because some people don't notice they've been banned for like 5 years. So we'll get a wave of people who used to be in here but aren't because they got banned like 5 years ago and they asked to come back. Some people are underage. Some people are like, I got banned for being 14, but it's like my 18th birthday. And it's like 2 years later and you're like, Anyway, I'm gonna go. Thanks for hanging out with me. This has been a really fun conversation. I had actually considered playing Mana Lords because they did an update, but I didn't. Maybe I'll do that in the future, though. We could do a little bit of Bardcore and, like, raise a village together, and you can name all my people for me. Do you think that would be good? Maybe we could do I was about to say World Bender Wednesdays, and I was like, I don't even want to think too hard about what that would even entail, but I would suggest World Builder Wednesdays, because I like world builders. I'm passionate about them. I like a little bit of Frostpunk. I want to learn Civ 6. I want to do some Civin. And so, like, that is something I'm passionate about. Can't help myself. I will accidentally spend hours on Theme Hospital or 2 Point Museum, right? Maybe I could take you along with me. Maybe we can have these sorts of discussions whilst I try to keep a hospital alive. Or you can vote in Frostpunk as to whether I should make mandatory reproduction a law or something. Maybe we could do that on Wednesdays. Tomorrow, though, it looks very likely, I may well be, streaming with a friend of mine. She wants to show me a game. So I'm gonna play with her for a bit tomorrow, and then we'll hang out again after. Will the stream be at the regular time then? Yes. If not slightly early, because that way everything falls into place right. It gives me a little bit of buffer time to make sure we're streaming and like gaming and everything is going smoothly, you know? Gives me some buffer time for things to go wrong. You know how it is. So I might go live a little bit before 8 p.m. if everything goes well. If everything goes up to plan. I love Dick, you bitch. Why aren't you more active on Instagram? Please post more there. Kushal, I didn't want to have an OnlyFans. An OnlyFans? What? An Instagram. I only got an Instagram eventually, reluctantly, years into my career, because people were pretending to be me. And they were giving people dangerous medical advice about Tourette's and shit that was really inaccurate. People who didn't even have Tourette's, who were just pretending to be me. There was a guy with like a Tourette's fetish who pretended to be me. He made a fake Instagram account, got thousands upon thousands of followers before I even noticed it existed. And he was like first of all, he was really shady and weird. He was posting every picture I was posting on Twitter and then copying my post, but also making posts of his own, just completely misrepresenting me. And he was like replying to people like, oh, that's so funny, babes, and putting like a million cringe emotes. And it's like, I don't do that. I never put the laugh cry emoji. Stop it. No. People think this is me. And so I had to make my own Instagram. And from there, I had to make sure it was the biggest Instagram, because if another fake Instagram got bigger than mine, then people would assume that was real and mine was fake. And so would Instagram. So when I made my own Instagram, right, because it only had a few followers, right, I reported his Instagram as being fake, and they didn't believe me, and they deleted mine. He did the reverse. He was like, I'm the real Sweet Anita. Look how many followers I have. She's the fake. And I got fucking banned. So now I have to have an Insta. And it's kind of reluctant for me because I don't like taking pictures of myself. I don't feel particularly photogenic. And I've never really enjoyed taking pictures of myself. There are like whole deck, like I'm pretty sure most of my teenage years, there's no photos of me. None. It's like, if you go through my history of photos, I was 11 and then all of a sudden 21. Blip. So, yeah, I try with Instagram photos, but I don't really like them. I don't really enjoy taking pictures of myself. I don't even like filming myself. I don't like watching videos of me. I'm in the wrong career, bitch. I hate that part. Don't like my voice? Terrible with it all. So self-critical. You're lucky there's anything on that Instagram at all. So it's really sweet, and I do like that you're asking for more, because I must be doing something good if people are like, hey, could we have more of that? That's really sweet. That's really encouraging. And thank you. Thank you so much. Just know that I'm trying with Instagram. It's just not something that comes naturally to me. I'm not the kind of person who instantly wants to take a picture of everything and post it everywhere. I hate doing that. I want to be in the moment. I forget to all the time. When I meet fun people, I rarely ever take pictures with them and things like that. And then I'm like, fuck, I probably should have done that. So I'm trying my best. You've actually got more than I ever thought I would be capable of doing on Instagram. So thank you for the encouragement. That's a stellar of you to ask for more. But like, I wouldn't hold your breath. You'll get what I can manage. What was it like being on 100 Questions? They showered me with gifts and told me I was wonderful and amazing and were incredibly complimentary and was so supportive and everything. It was really sweet. I was like, I felt like everyone loved me. Like, everyone was so nice. I do wonder if it's like an interview thing. Like, maybe interviewer teams and stuff are just like, they shower you with compliments to make you very confident. Because maybe if you walked in there and you're like, you wouldn't be as good to interview. I don't know. But they gave me loads of gifts and I still have them. I drink out of them every day. I love that. Yeah, they're really sweet. And Tommy's obviously, he's even lovelier in person, if you can imagine. So, yeah, very lovely experience, actually. If anyone invites you to do 100 Questions, say yes. Because you'll have the time of your life. But anyway, I'm really gonna go for real now. I've said goodbye like 5 times. You keep asking me more questions. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, take care of yourself. Good night.